Ladies and gentlemen, Diamond Podcasting Productions presents The Shoot, a pro wrestling podcast, with your hosts, Dan Burke and Drew McKenzie.
The Ides of March are among us. Hi, everybody. Dan Burke here for The Shoot, here on Diamond Podcast Productions. We are here with another edition of this fine program tonight to talk about, of course, the road to Wrestlemania and, among other things that are happening in the world of professional wrestling, including WWE 2K24, which will be coming out next Friday for the mass general public, but early access begins on Tuesday.
I think 2K14 is already out. I think you might mean 2K24.
2K14. And, of course, joined by my wonderful co-host that is literally correcting me just in a few minutes of this.
We're off to a great start.
To be fair, some could argue that this is the best wrestling game, or WWE edition for that matter, of WWE 2K since 2K14. So really, I could play it at that rate and be like, hey, because I was thinking about, hey, 2K14, one of the arguably, not probably the last great wrestling game. And now we are just a few days away from possibly what could be the best wrestling game since that. And we're going to go on to a full-blown discussion and debate. Not so much debate, but more of a discussion. As someone that has purchased the game every single year, it is an annual purchase. Along the lines of Major League Baseball's The Show and NBA 2K. So this is the only game, though, that I usually get the pre-order, and I usually get the highest price edition. So I can get all the season packs and not have to pay $10 to $15 a pack at some point. Because the DLC this year, woo! We'll get into that. Mac, how are you tonight?
Good segue into that one.
Right.
I'm good.
Talent.
Yeah. That's why I gave you top billing, my friend. I'm good. I'm interested for that 2K conversation because I am the complete opposite.
Yes. I know.
When I was buying them yearly, we were talking and I'm going to age myself, unfortunately, PlayStation 2 days.
Yes.
And
we'll bring that. That'll be a huge discussion tonight as well.
I'm sure it will be. And also, Raw 1 and 2 for the original Xbox.
Ooh, Raw 2 was excellent. Raw 1...
Raw 1 was better with its customizable entrances.
Right.
And being able to play them off of your hard drive if you downloaded the songs. And I remember we had a lot of fun with that.
Yes, I liked Raw 2 a lot for that.
Raw 2 was a step above, yep, 100%.
Yeah, and also with the match, the roster was excellent.
It was.
Also with a creative suite, you could do a lot with it.
Yeah, and listen, the entrances alone, in both Raw 1 and Raw 2, just phenomenal. But yeah, I have not bought a wrestling game since before they were 2K. I'll say it that way.
Oh, good Lord.
So it's been a long time.
Yes. We will definitely dive into that because you can go back to the... it's funny because it's like I feel like you may have skipped a whole generation with PlayStation 3.
I did. Yeah, and 4. And 4.
And 4.
And 4, yeah.
So the last 2 generations, it's just like, fuck it.
So that's why I'm like, I think I aged myself already to this conversation. But I'm looking forward to it, and I will end up buying it this year, not even just to kind of play it on the show potentially, but just all the hype behind WrestleMania, which obviously we'll talk a little bit about that too. The 40 years of WrestleMania, having that built into the game. The roster is like 200 something, I think.
It's going to be close to like 275 with DLC.
With DLC, yeah, it'll be about 275 or so. You keep confirming new characters for future DLCs. It's going to be huge. I will be 100% honest that I will probably not buy next year's. I don't think I'll need to.
I don't think so either. Like it's going to be very tough because these bicentennial years have become so important. This is exactly what they built their showcase on 10 years ago for 2K14.
I heard, yeah.
Which is why it is considered one of the best wrestling games ever. Probably the last really, really great one.
Right.
So coming into this, I mean, it's funny. I feel like we have just entirely skipped the road to WrestleMania, but I think it shows you the excitement that we have for this game, especially considering Mac is excited and it's just like, I am buying this. I am pre-ordering it.
Yep.
I want everything. I'll buy the most expensive edition.
Yep. So I actually have debated whether or not I want to get it for both PC, link my Xbox account, which I don't have an Xbox, but I have, Microsoft Game Pass, whatever it's called.
Yes.
And maybe potentially buying it for PS5 as well. I'm that hyped for this because the reason for that would be so I have a physical edition of the Road to WrestleMania version. So I'm on the fence. I'll tell you that.
It because the box art looks incredible.
Absolutely.
And just the concept and Mac is right because depending on what next year is going to bring, next year's offering, and also depending on who gets in trouble and is not in the game next year, this might be one that I keep for a long time. So this might be one where it's like, oh, they shut the servers off. Fuck it, it's fine. Like,
like Mac, when are you coming up again? When are you coming over again?
Yeah, exactly.
we get some 2K in.
It's like Madden 17. I'm still playing that on my PS4. Like I haven't upgraded a Madden in over 5 years. And I would mostly because of the fact that all my favorite players are still in their prime and I can change their ages so they never retire.
Yep.
But
Tom Brady is still about 23 to 25 on.
He's 22 right now.
I was close enough.
Your whole team is 22 years old. Everybody's just like, what the fuck? Like, these are ageless wonders. The only negative thing about Madden, though, was the fact that it wasn't Bill Belichick in the game because he hasn't been in the game since the PS2 era, as we talked about earlier. So it's like the coach has to be usually created, or you have to go in, fire a coach, and then hire your coach that you want, like coaching the team. So you'd have to have multiple franchises for the first moment. And then you'd have to be the owner of another team. Right. And then you'd have to fire your head coach. So that way you can select the Patriots and then get the head coach that you want. Because no one wants to be like Gary Masters or whatever the hell they were using for years. Then they really got lazy. Yeah. They called it New Coach.
New England Coach. Yep.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God. And it's just because Belichick did not want to be a part of the Coaches Association. And the same thing was with Parcells because Parcells wasn't available in Madden either for a time being.
Yeah, but we're talking like PS1, maybe PS2 for Parcells.
Well, he was the coach for the Cowboys during the PS2 era.
So like I said, PS1, PS2.
Yeah, so like we're talking 2003, 4, and 5 maybe. God, and some would argue, along with wrestling games, as we were discussing earlier, how Mac hasn't bought a wrestling game since the PS2 era. Some could argue that Madden peaked in the PS2 era as well. So it's It's difficult with these annual releases, man. And
That's
it's not
exactly
just
what I was going to say too.
it's not just wrestling. It's not just Madden. It's not
All of
just
them.
2K. It is all of them. Look what has happened with Call of Duty. Look what has happened with Assassin's Creed.
Hey,
all of them.
No, you leave that last one alone.
Why?
Because they actually stopped. They actually stopped doing annual releases.
Okay. All right, I'll leave them alone. I'm sorry.
Big Assassin's Creed fan. I was very close. I'll be honest with you. Probably about 2 years ago, when I was still streaming, I was on the fence about streaming every Assassin's Creed game on major consoles, and I have them all. So I am a big fan of that series, and it's interesting because they went open world for the last like 3 or 4 maybe, and it's a lot of people. It's fun talking about it because they argue that some of that is like the worst in the series because they're so used to a certain play style, and some argue that it refreshed the series, and then there's like a subset of fans that just can't agree to disagree on which is better. But I do agree that for a while during the annual release times, yeah, it was not great. Call of Duty, however, have at it, sir. I'll tell you that now. Go for it.
No, I wasn't going to.
I know.
I wasn't going to crap on it because look, I'm not a first-person shooter guy, so I'm not going to crap on it. The only time I like first-person shooter is like when I'm in Grand Theft Auto, certain places.
I feel like that's another conversation for another time. Hopefully, sometime in 2025, we'll talk about that on a different show or something, man.
Tell you that trailer has whet the appetite of the entire gaming public, I think.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
It's just the fact that it's going to be interesting for the rest of the year and how they're going to start leaking information out and things are going to kind of get out there.
Yeah. I heard another trailer is coming probably between now and maybe May, give or take. So
yeah.
As the date draws closer and closer to whatever the actual release date will be in 2025, you're going to hear a lot more stuff, I'm sure. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But back to the actual topic of annual releases. I agree. And this goes back to kind of what you were saying about Madden, especially. I don't think I've bought a Madden game in over 15 years.
Yeah. No. The thing about it is they took away so much from the PS2 era as far as what you can do.
Yep.
The customization back then was endless. But now it's just they've limited it so much, and you'd think, but everything's supposed to be better. Like data's supposed to be easier. Everything is supposed to be kind of streamlined.
Yep.
And they have just, I don't know. And everybody I think knows kind of why. It's because Madden can be lazy and not do anything because they're the only game in town. They don't have to worry about a 2K. They don't have to worry about an Acclaim, even though they're no longer in business.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But they don't have to, because you remember.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The SNES days, the Genesis days, there were 15
even like
NFL
N64
games.
In some cases. Too.
Oh, yes, that's very true.
Even that. Original PlayStation N64, and I think that was it.
There was Madden, there was NFL Quarterback Club.
Yep.
There was Game Day for the PlayStation.
Yep, I had Game Day. I remember that one.
Game Day was okay. I always Game Day was good. I wanted to play NFL Fever a bit, but I never was able to find like a copy used.
You know, it's funny. As you say that, we could even count like some of the other ones, like the knockoffs, like NBA Jam, NFL Blitz. Oh, yes. Like you can even count those to some degree too.
Blitz I can still play because I have a modded PS1, and so Blitz is on there, and that another game, and I was thinking about it this week because I used to play the crap out of it in college, and I think you remember probably stopping by and watching me play, and NASCAR Thunder.
Yep.
I'm not even a NASCAR fan. I'm not like religiously. I thought Dale Earnhardt was cool as fuck, but I've never been kind of a like I couldn't tell you who's won the fucking Nextel Sprint Cup, whenever the fuck it is now, of the last decade. I'd probably be like, oh, Jimmy Johnson has to won a couple.
Actually I fell off of NASCAR for a while too. I don't even know who's racing anymore. But I remember around that time period, like early 2000s into like maybe 2010, if that, I would watch at least a couple races a year. And it was enjoyable, like,
Yeah.
whatever. But, that was, like you said, Darren Hart Jr., Jeff Gordon, other guys that I think were big around that time. But now I'm just like, who's that?
Yeah, it's not like there was just some appeal about it. And I'll tell you, I wish I was kind of more of I absorbed it more in like the 80s and 90s, because it was still kind of like the Wild West, like as far as stuff went back then.
Yeah.
I mean, that was when it was Winston Cup, so it was done by a tobacco industry, was pretty much the sponsor of their Cup Series. And you'd go to these races, and then Marlboro would be or Winston and Marlboro would be handing you cartons of cigarettes. Yep. And you're like, this is like, nope, they're just handing you cartons of cigarettes. You don't even have to be a smoker. And they're just fucking, hey, you want some cigarettes? Yeah, it's free. Go ahead, take it.
Yep.
And you're just watching. I mean, the only thing you have to do is watch people drive left for 4 hours. But you save so much money on cigarettes that you could go drink cheap beer. So you're loaded by the 20th lap. You're like, fuck.
It's funny you say it though, because I remember I never been, but I remember a lot of people, especially during that time, would head up to Laconia too.
Oh yeah,
because that's the local place where they would go race in our region, really. But I just remember that shit. Like, everybody's talking about going to Laconia for like a long weekend and then watch the race.
My old friend, old college roommate, actually, he was huge into NASCAR, and they went every year, I think, both races, because there was the Busch Series and then there was the actual, like, the main series. And it's completely different now. Like, it's completely modernized. It's all corporate. I mean, the Daytona 500 is still a huge deal. Probably one of the best sporting events of the year. But then it's funny that that's not their last of it, like their finish. That's the beginning of everything. It's not like, where Wrestlemania is the end of the wrestling calendar year. It's more of the Daytona 500 is the beginning of the calendar year, right, which is so weird as far as events are concerned. I just had a thought, but yeah, the PS2 games for NASCAR, I mean, even the PS1 games for them were so fun. Just because, number one, you could be Dale Earnhardt, which is cool as shit. It was so weird after he was killed in 2001. I think it was 2003 or 2004. That edition, I remember just playing the shit out of it, and just how much fun it was to just be able to move the car just a little bit. And I had it in a way where I could always cause a car to literally just turn around. Like, every single time it would just be like, oh, I'm in third. Oh, no problem. And I would just, car just spins out and flips over. And then you cause like a major accident. You're just like waving as you're driving by. But that was, and then there was the one for the PS1, I think it was NASCAR 98, where you could actually shoot paintballs from the guns from your car, and it would just cause an immediate wreck. Yep. Like, they would just automatically hit the wall every time. But of course, too, the problem with PS1 is they didn't have sliders, so it's like, oh shit. Like, I actually have to do this competitively.
Yep.
Crap.
Yep.
Like,
oh man, I feel like and I know we've like gotten way off topic now at this point, but
That's fine.
But we are talking about games later, so we might as well talk about it now too. Um, PS2 is just such a great era of video games in general.
Oh my god!
Like there's so many that like if people who play God of War on the PS4 or PS5 started on a PS2 game. You know, the Prince of Persia games. There's so many of these other games that we're talking about, whether it be wrestling or
Max
Madden.
Payne.
Max Payne was another one.
Oh, Max Payne is one of my favorite games ever.
I still have some of these games, ironically enough, in like one of those record keeper things or CD things or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I don't remember if it was you or somebody else, but they were like, "Oh, we're gonna get the HD version of the GTA games for the PS2," and I'm just like, I'm just gonna keep the ones that I have. I'm good. And I heard that there was so many like problems with that edition that I was like, oh well, I'm glad I still have a PS2 somewhere in storage, and I'm glad I still have these games on the original discs because
I wasn't going to pay. I was not going to pay that. I was not going to pay full price for it. But if I get that series at some point for like 20 or 30, maybe.
You wouldn't be disappointed. Yeah. Or as a gift.
No.
Yeah. I get it.
No, I would do that then.
Yeah,
but no,
same.
I'm not going to pay full price for it.
No, I agree. But
It's silly to me.
But that, you know, like obviously we're talking about like GTA 5, GTA 6 next year sometime, and like San Andreas, Vice City. You can make the argument for GTA 3. It was definitely the lesser of those three, but it was still a great game. But Vice City and San Andreas are just like all-time games, in my opinion.
Vice City might be my favorite of the whole three, just because of Ray Liotta's fucking voice acting.
Yeah, and San Andreas had a great effing story to it too.
Yeah, it's got a great story,
and just dude, like Samuel L. Jackson is the corrupt cop. Come on, man.
And you're just at a certain point in GTA and San Andreas, you just become invincible.
Oh yeah,
like you're so overpowered. I was talking about you remember the action replay disc back then?
Yeah, I remember that. I
remember having one for SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain, and I think San Andreas and Vice City.
Oh God.
And because Grand Theft Auto 3, you could get away with using cheats.
Yeah.
They didn't penalize you for it.
Yep.
Vice City, if you started doing a lot of cheats, they would penalize the shit out of you as far as your ranking is concerned.
Yep.
And the same thing happened with San Andreas. So Grand Theft Auto 3 was like, you can get away with using cheats, and plus that was also the best. It was so weird how Grand Theft Auto 3 had the most indestructible tank. His Vice City and San Andreas, those tanks felt like just regular cars compared to that one. My God, like that tank, if you had a tank in Grand Theft Auto 3, you were good for 3 hours.
At
just
least,
doing random shit.
Yeah. Vice City, I thought was, and like I don't even remember how far I got in 3 because it was at a time where I didn't really care for the silent protagonist at that point.
Right. No, I understand.
But I think that Vice City was probably the harder of the 3. Not to take anything away from 3 or San Andreas, but I remember
RC Chopper scene alone. Yeah,
I was just about to say it. For the RC Chopper alone, that was like the hardest game. I remember spending like so much time trying to beat that mission, and I think I dropped the game for a while. And then I picked it up one day. I was like, let me see how far I can get. And I beat it like first try. And I was very happy, but I also was
angry.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like I want to say like throw the controller across the room, partly from joy, partly from rage that it took me so long to beat it. Oh man. But I remember San Andreas had one like that, but it was definitely not the same level of difficulty.
Oh, it was the plane. Yeah, it was the RC plane.
Yeah, the plane, yeah.
There were just so many missions on some of those games where you're just like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Why is this here?
Yep. I definitely agree. Listen, if you weren't alive during the PS2 era, or if you don't remember a lot of those games, definitely revisit some of them at some point because they're just great games. But in terms of the yearly releases, we'll probably table that for now. We can definitely talk about that when we start talking about the actual game itself, which I've had to do so many website searches over the past few days just to get information more about this because there's just so much in it, especially if you're like me and you didn't play the last game. But before we talk about that, I figure we'll talk about the road to WrestleMania again. Simply because this will actually be a quicker conversation, I feel like, after last week. However, I will say that Raw was pretty packed with stuff that they could potentially do, whether that be Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre, whether it be Cody Rhodes and the build up to potential face off with the Bloodline. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and it was funny when I showed you the slide last night. I kind of got thinking like, man, I got to change all this around because I definitely forgot that Money in the Bank is still in play. And then I kind of organized that into the middle here because you have Money in the Bank, you have Dom's face up with Gunther, and then you have Rhea, Dom, and talking to Becky. So I kind of reorganized the middle to Judgment Day, I guess. A lot going on this Monday, I feel like.
There was. I think the thing about it is that you have to give them 100% credit. And this is something that they really haven't done in years, which is making this Mania season so intriguing. They're making us guess. Yep. They're keeping us guessing. What's like all these, we know what the main matches are. We know what the top 4 or 5 matches are right off the bat.
Yeah.
But everything else, we have no fucking idea. We have had the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion in the company's history. That is combined reigns and also one singular reign.
Right.
And now I think they're going to try to set up a multi-man ladder match that either Gunther retains or now it gives him an out where he technically didn't lose the championship because he wasn't pinned or submitted. It is a cheap way to get the title off him. But my problem with that is that the only way Gunther should lose the Intercontinental Championship is if immediately following he is challenging for the World Heavyweight Championship or WWE Undisputed Universal title. Those are the only acceptable ways, unless he wins Money in the Bank. That's the only two acceptable solutions to this, because he has earned the right, and also is one of the most consistent performers, and also unlike many heels in the history of this industry. And also, in as far as championship reigns are concerned, if you look at Roman Reigns' title, it has been protected, not only from a company standpoint, but also from a family standpoint, because every single one of his title defenses have come under suspicion. Someone running in, some weapon at right timing, a top rope collapsed. All these little things happening. Gunther has not had the same type of reign. He has beaten every single person that he has had to face convincingly and clean as a whistle. Every single title defense, he has come up, not needed tactics, and was able to do it in a basic offense, a splash or a power bomb in a time of wrestling where everybody is using the plancha or some shooting star press, except Roman Reigns and Gunther. And I'm just interested to see where this goes, because the way that they're teasing this is that there's going to be many people challenging Gunther for the title. and not just one person, it seems like.
Yep. So let's talk about that real quick. And he's on the slide too. One of them is potentially Sami Zayn, which is why I included him here on the slide.
Yes.
I think there's potential for Sami. Chad Gable went in to talk to Adam Pearce on Monday Night Raw to challenge Gunther again because he made my daughter cry. Kind of was the reason.
That's true.
And then the Judgment Day, which I was a little surprised at. I don't hate it. I don't know that I care for it, and I'm going to give you 2 reasons why. One is you could work yourself out of Damian Priest's Money in the Bank with trying to cash in on Gunther and just saying, hey, I want a match, whatever. And then Dom just kind of gets in the middle of that, and I'm just like, what is going on? And it was really to the point where before Gunther shoved him, just Gunther's trying not to laugh at Dom, which I found both ironic and funny at the same time. And then that just pie-face shove and Damian Priest getting so hot about it. That Damian Priest got shoved, the way he reacted to Dom getting shoved. So I agree. I feel like the walls are closing in on Gunther a little bit for this Mania season. I don't know who it's going to be. It could be last year they did a triple threat with him, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre. This year it could be more of them. And you could end the match with him being cashed in upon, or he could cash in on Seth Rollins or Drew McIntyre or Cody Rhodes, or we just have no idea at this point. But the fact that he's held it this long kind of leads me to believe that there is some kind of play for the Money in the Bank being cashed in at WrestleMania, which would not be the first time.
No, it wouldn't. I don't know if it's going to happen at Mania, only because it depends. It's many factors. I don't think I don't see Gunther eating a pin for a while. So I think this is a way to get the title off him if they do a multi-man ladder match.
I agree with that.
Or if he gets pinned, or if somebody else gets pinned in a fatal 4-way or something of that nature. I think a ladder match, because it's the 40th anniversary, technically 30th anniversary of the ladder match for the Intercontinental title.
That is true.
So I think that their way of thinking would be, well, let's commemorate 30th anniversary. So, you could have Shawn Michaels come out and present they make a new championship or something. You put some pomp and circumstance around it to make it which if there's going to be a new championship, then you have to have Gunther go over, only because of the fact of he's earned the right to. He's the man in this championship reign has made the Intercontinental Championship the most relevant it has been in over 25 years. That is I'm talking, because I thought the championship might have started to lose its luster in the late 80s. Because in the 90s, it was still regarded heavily, very heavily. And
yeah, definitely.
It definitely lost some relevancy over the years. And this championship and this reign has been able to get that title out of the gutter as far as relevancy is concerned, and made it a must-have title again. And that shows the tremendous attention to detail that Paul Levesque has, but also the great in-ring prowess and work of one Gunther, who every single day he holds on to this championship. Keith Lee is still taking L's on that fucking tweet. Dumbest. That thing aged worse than any other thing I have ever seen on the internet. Ever. If I was him, I would have deleted that. Just go back and just fucking get rid of it. But he's still going to get reminded of it. And it also goes to show you that when the company tells you maybe you should do something, if you lose weight, change the body a little bit, because you think of the transformation that Gunther has not only gone through as a performer, but also how he looks body wise. He is a completely different performer than what he was in NXT UK. And he's not, well, actually, no, he still is hard hitting, but the body transformation has been incredible.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And the company told him, made not a request, but more or less you might want to think about doing this. And he did it, and they taken him seriously, and he has been able to get rewarded for it. While on the other side of that coin, the other guy, pissed off about it, went to another company, and has been irrelevant ever since. Sometimes you got to make a choice. You want to be a player in this industry. And Gunther did that. Made the absolute right decision for him, his family, and his legacy. And he's being rewarded for it. And coming into WrestleMania again as the Intercontinental Champion.
Oh, man. Yeah, listen, I don't disagree. The guy has just been money ever since he got called up. And even before he was called up, he was money in NXT. In NXT UK, same thing. So, I don't know. It's hard to predict what the outcome of that story will be. It just seems like they're making enemies left and right on Monday Night Raw. You had that tag team street fight with the Imperium team of Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci against the New Day, which I felt could have been a little bit more, could have been a little bit better, could have had somebody run in, but I get it. I wasn't disappointed with that match. How did you feel about, the segment with Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre? And before I even allow you to answer that, I thought it was hilarious that Drew did the sit down in the middle of the ring. And then just, oh my god, like, chef's kiss to Drew McIntyre's character work the last couple of weeks in his, like, quote-unquote vendetta against CM Punk. Because it's just been money. But go ahead, how did you feel about that segment?
Drew McIntyre should get Play a Hater of the Year. Just literally... Because the amount of mental damage he has done on CM Punk the last month has just truly been incredible. I honestly think he is doing all this to kind of drive up the bidding war between him and AEW, because AEW fans would eat him up just because of the fact of what he has done to the psyche, and also just the doctor was like, you might have to miss WrestleMania. And I'm like, I'm not CM Punk. That's not going to happen. The fucking t-shirt. Like, he is really turned himself. He is a great babyface. 4 years ago, I was like, he is going to be the top star for this company. And he got the shaft because of everything that kind of happened with the Rona. And it's unfortunate that he kind of got lost in the shuffle for a couple of years for bigger programs. And he is now taking that frustration and all that, and he has balled that up into one of the best heel runs in the company. And they have some fantastic heels right now. Fantastic. But McIntyre now is in and it's not like he's a super heel. Like, people don't hate him like they hate Dominic Mysterio. Because I think the majority of the public find him fucking hysterical right now. And it is going to be very hard for Seth Rollins to walk into WrestleMania and not have the diehards. He's in a position now where it could be a 50-50 building at Mania between him and Drew. Because I think Drew is now getting that support that he thought he was going to get 4 years ago. Unfortunately, with the Rona, he didn't get it. Everybody had to stay home. The next year, he's having to put over Bobby Lashley. And then he's having to face, I think he fought Jinder Mahal 2 years ago or something. He fought somebody that he shouldn't have, or I think it was Baron Corbin. Right. It was Baron Corbin 2 years ago. And then last year, he had to face Sheamus and Gunther and not get the victory. So he has done everything the company has asked for.
I think he was sick that match too, if I'm not mistaken, at Mania.
Right. He came into that hurt. He either had some ailment or some lingering injury, but he came into that hurting.
Yeah.
And he has done that company right. Everybody loves him. He's a free agent. I know there's been reports that he's re-signed a contract. There's nothing definitive. So I don't want to comment and say that he's going to, because in my opinion, he is they're trying to get this deal done. But also he knows with everything that's going on, and he knows that Tony Khan will make him a ridiculous offer. But I also think Drew is smart enough to know his best hand at play would be to stay with WWE. Because of the fact that their main event scene, which everybody can sit there now and say is not what it was 2 years ago. But with the impending arrival of Okada and the already new arrival of Will Ospreay, that main event scene is really too tough to kind of cut through. And his way of booking has been book him for 6 months and then forget about him because I got somebody else. And Drew now is putting himself in a position where he is not expendable. You have to keep him. You have to keep him. You have to pay him what he wants. And you also have to book him properly because he can be a fantastic babyface and he can be a fantastic heel. You want to keep a guy like that in because it's very rare that you get somebody like that. And he's going into WrestleMania this year with not only all the momentum in the world, but I think the fans are going to be behind him because of the fact that he's so entertaining. He's so good in the ring. And you can't help but love him. Like as a performer, you just can't. And everything that he's done lately has just been hysterical.
I want to touch on something that you kind of said though, and it's really funny that you said it because I have been thinking about it too. He's not like a real bad guy heel.
No.
He's almost, and I think I said this last show, if not 2 shows ago, where he's almost like a Steve Austin right now, where he's kind of like a heel tactic face almost, because people are finding it funny. It's not like this boo kind of reaction like Roman Reigns gets or that Gunther gets or that others get. It's like he's getting laugh reacts. I do want to focus, however, just on the actual segment itself with him and Rollins after he had his promo, so to speak. And the reason I want to do this is because I think it's building an interesting story. Or at least I thought it was until like the end of the night where him and Jey Uso are fighting each other. But it's almost like they're trying to get help against the bloodline. So the reason I kind of want to say this is, especially for McIntyre, do you see maybe that he might do this and do like a double turn in the whole WrestleMania weekend, as it were?
Well, I've heard somebody, I saw a rumor, or more or less someone's thought process, that they thought that Seth was a spy for the bloodline and he was going to fuck Cody over. That was what somebody put out there, which don't know. I the bloodline has pissed so many people off. There is 6 or 7 baby faces right now that could interfere and fuck him over against Cody, and people would be like, yeah, I get it. I understand why. Because he's held them down. He's held that company. Holding the spot that he's in has cost a lot of guys main event money. And consistent main event money. And that's hard. Because they had to create a second championship just to kind of spread the wealth around. But then that also puts you in a predicament of, you're eventually going to unify this, right? Like, because that's just their thought process. Even though I don't think they will now, because Triple H is a competent booker. He is a competent thinker as far as long-term planning and things of that nature. So I don't know if it's going to be as bad as it certainly was in the last 10 to 15 years, where, we're just going to do this on a whim. I don't think that he has that thought process. So that'll be the real interesting part about all this is there going to be a lot of people that align with each other to take down the bloodline? Like, we're watching Cody and Roman, and all of a sudden here comes Drew McIntyre and he fucking claymores the shit out of Roman. Or Jimmy Uso. Or Solo Sikoa. And is able to get Roman Reigns to finally get vanquished. And Cody Rhodes can finish the story. But would that also be a letdown to people? Because people were just like, I want Cody to beat him straight up. I thought for sure last year when Sami Zayn hits the haluva kick, and then Kevin Owens hits the stunner, and then Cody, I think, hits the crossroads. I'm like, that's how you got to end it. Yep. Right fucking there. Yep. 1, 2, 3, kick out. What?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been mad at that. Because again, Roman has fucked so many people over. So Drew McIntyre coming out and hitting him with a Claymore or Solo or Jimmy Uso makes sense. Because he fucked with him too.
Yep.
And then he could come to Cody Rhodes later and just be like, you know how you can repay me? We can do a title for title, and then they unify the titles.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of why I asked the question.
Let's say it now. Drew McIntyre, I'm saying this now, and this is it. I've said it here before, and I'll say it again, but after this week, after Monday night, there is no chance Seth Rollins walks out of WrestleMania as World Heavyweight Champion. There's no chance. Drew's going to take it. If they wouldn't have had him win the Chamber and then go to WrestleMania and lose to Seth Rollins again.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think Drew is going to be put in a position where he's going to be selling just as much merch as Cody Rhodes is.
I agree.
I really want to know how much that CM Punk. I really want to know how much that's selling. I'm sure that's selling quite a bit. Tony Khan probably brought 6 for his entire family.
Oh God, probably.
Like,
oh, man, no, I'm stuck in the comments. Actually, I could take that so many places. But that's kind of why I asked the question, because it almost feels like Rollins is going to try to recruit people to kind of face the Bloodline or help face the Bloodline, which might enable Cody to win. Seems like since he kind of mentioned it to Drew, that's kind of why I feel like there might be some kind of a double turn. Whether that's on night 1 or night 2, we would have to see, and that all depends on placement of matches, which will be very interesting to see, all things considered anyways, with all the stories they have going on going towards WrestleMania. But it would just be really ironic and funny if, he comes out, he attacks the Bloodline to help Seth, to help Cody, and then he just turns around and, Glasgow kiss on Seth Rollins. Because I do feel like that's kind of where that could go. I would not be surprised if Sami Zayn gets involved in some way, just kind of like you said, all things considered, all these guys that Roman has kind of held down, that the Bloodline has held down. Another one that like I said before, when I started the conversation, I said, Jey Uso would be another one. And now Drew and Jey are going to have a match Monday on Raw after this past Monday's events. It's just like, what is going on?
It's this intrigue and this. Yeah. They're just keeping us on our toes this year, which is really quite refreshing.
I was about to say the same thing.
I've never it's just, you have to watch TV. You have to watch the lead in now, because it's like, what the fuck are they going to do? Who's fighting who now? What the
It's funny.
You gotta love it. You gotta just sit there and say, now it's like they are creating episodic television. They have done that. Yeah. They have, for this season, for WrestleMania, they have created episodic TV. You can't miss it. You have to watch it. The fact now that The Rock is going to be on television for most of the month of March, that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're going to sell out every building they go to for SmackDown that he's on, because he's the fucking Rock.
Yep. Yep, pretty much.
One of the biggest stars history of this business. And not only that, one of the biggest stars in entertainment.
Yeah.
In history. And he's going to be on Fox TV. He's going to be on SmackDown for the next month. And yeah, I admit, I've said some comments in episodes past. I've said that, he's back because everybody else has rejected him. He's still the fucking Rock.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit here and deny that and be like, well, hey, I was pissed off that he was trying to take Cody's spot, or was it? I don't know.
I don't think we'll ever know the actual truth to that.
No, we'll never know the truth. But you know what? I'm fine with it.
Yeah, me too.
Because they're probably all thinking we worked ourselves into a shoot. Maybe we did. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I don't think so.
This
is
what you wanted. No, we wanted this 2 years ago. We don't want it now.
Yeah, and I would argue even 2 years ago I didn't really want it that much.
No, 2 years ago would have been fine, because it would have been in Dallas.
With 38 you're saying.
Nobody wanted Roman and fucking Brock again.
Yeah. For some reason I thought 2 years ago.
Redacted.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted that.
UFC redacted.
Yeah, UFC redacted. Nobody wanted that. Everybody would have been fine with Roman and Rock. Even last year, if they wanted to say, we're not going to, even last year in Los Angeles, if they wanted to do it, fine, fuck it. Not this year. Not this year. No.
I agree. I think for 39, after Cody got injured or before really Hell in the Cell, and then him coming back from injury, I think he kind of deserved it. Because that match at Hell in the Cell, when he had the torn pec, just he earned that spot.
Oof.
To wrestle through that. At 38, though, yeah, I would argue that would have been the best time to do it. Nobody gave a shit about him and Brock.
that Cody match was that was us of the night. I think that it finally just crystallized in my memory, because when Cody was in AEW, I just did not like the presentation. at all. I didn't like how he came across. I didn't like anything about it.
The only thing I liked about him in AEW is that he came out with Arn Anderson. That was it.
That was it. Like, because there was something off.
Yep. I agree.
And it was just like, it just didn't. But then he comes to WWE and he's the same fucking guy. And it's just like, oh my God, he's one of the best baby faces in the company. Like, how the fuck, like, he needed to go elsewhere to find himself. And then when he finally found himself, the company, he was in the wrong company.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with that. That's a great comment, actually, and a great quote, because you're 100% right.
He needed to leave WWE to get noticed.
Yep.
He needed to go, needed to get away from Stardust, and needed to finally become himself.
Yep.
And he finally did. And he thought he could be that and do the same thing for another company. And he helped started it, and they rejected him. So he just said, fuck it. I'm going to go back, get paid a lot more money, not have to be an EVP and just be a wrestler. And I'm going to get myself over. And instantly, he came out at WrestleMania 38. He has become not only a beloved baby face in front of the audience, the mainstream casual wrestling fans, but also the hardcores. And that's very rare. Very rare. Because, especially in WWE, because there was always that separation. And trust me, John Cena, casuals loved him. I fucking hated him. So did Mac. We dumped so much money into fucking pay-per-views hoping that this fucking guy would lose. And he would win every fucking time. And I'm sure if I was 20, 25 during the 80s, saw Hulk Hogan every time, I may have not been a big Hulkamaniac, because I would have been like, fucking God, big boob, leg drop. Jesus Christ, again. But because of the fact that I got into it at a young age. I'm
doing my Citizen Kane laugh at you right now.
Yes. But because of the fact that I got into it at a young age, I still look at Hulk like I was 7 or 8 years old, which is why that.
To be fair, I think that's probably a lot of wrestling fans, being that age that we were when Hulk was so popular, when Cena was coming up and through. Not so much at first, obviously, but after the Marine.
Ugh.
Which just, Doctor of Thugonomics, that's the only John Cena I like. Just saying.
Well, I like the human being I do, because again, with the Make-A-Wishes and stuff like that.
Yeah, the human being, like, okay. Yeah. John Cena, the human being, yeah. I can
He's
get
cool as Peacemaker, I'll give him.
I still haven't seen it.
I saw Suicide Squad. I still haven't seen the show. But from what I saw in Suicide Squad, I thought he was decent.
Fair enough. And, I mean, I've heard he's not a bad actor.
I couldn't take him. I just couldn't.
I still can't. That's my point.
I just couldn't. I just couldn't do it. It's so hard, because it's like, he's a nice guy, a great guy. I love what he's done for kids and stuff like that, but I never could take the guy seriously. Never could. And it just, I respect him. I respect what he's done to the industry. I respect the fact that he got that company. Think about it. If it wasn't for John Cena between the redacted incident in 2007, up until like the early 2010s, who knows where the company would have ended up, because he was the only beacon of light that they had, leading them out of one of the darkest times in the history of the industry.
True.
So I have to give him some type of credit and not just go with my biasness and say, God, I wanted him to fucking lose every week. Yeah, because it's just, you get tired of it. He just got tiresome quickly. And he was beating all our favorites, which is the other hard part. When your favorites are always getting beaten by a guy you don't like, it just adds more hatred to the guy that's beating him every time. And
I could hold on. So the thing here about Cena is this, right? Like, I always felt that he was a little bit lesser of a wrestler and more of like just
an entertainer,
an entertainer, and maybe just the talent in general. Which obviously you can make the comment like, "Hey, they're all talents," but I don't mean it in that sense, right? Like, oh man, what Santino, right? Just thinking of John Cena, yes. I always think of John Cena, and yeah, it was hilarious. But Santino is an entertainer too. He's not really a wrestler. I think everybody knows that. And you could make the comparison that, okay, one's a wrestler, one's not. Sure, Cena has the look of a wrestler. He's more of that. But it's like, you remember that one movie he had, like the stupid like back fist that Cena did or whatever that became a finisher against like Elias one time? I forget what he called it, but it was like, what are you doing?
It's not like the AA really was taxing. Like,
no,
it was a fireman's carry that was it. It was an elevated fireman's carry. It wasn't even anything like, he could have just stayed with that instead of that stupid Falcon Punch, whatever the fuck it was. Falcon Punch.
The thing I want to say though about it is, even like if you disregard that for a second, I just feel that Cena's rise and overall talent, while yes, was annoying because he fought and beat all our favorites, I would make the argument that it was because of all those guys is really what contributed to his rise to prominence in that promotion. Because if he's not beating guys like Brock at certain points, which, yeah, I know Brock beat the shit out of him that one time. Lord. If he's not beating guys, yeah, it was great. I thoroughly relished in that, trust me. If he's not beating guys like Kane or The Undertaker or Big Show, especially those bigger guys, if he's not beating other talent that is maybe far more entertaining, quote unquote, like Santino Marella was at that time, I don't think he has as strong of a run. I think it was built on the backs of the other guys that could kind of carry him, whether it be on the mic, which he wasn't bad on the mic by any stretch of the imagination. He just wasn't really entertaining when he drew up as the Doctor of Thugonomics. And on top of that, like I said, he has other guys that were just better in the ring and made him look good. I'll make that argument too. And I know people are going to shit all over us like, he was good in the ring. What are you talking about? Was he though? Was he?
He's been in some great matches.
He has. I'm not saying anything against that.
Yeah, decade plus. I'll give him. He's been in some fantastic matches, but also I think a lot of it has to do with, your dance partner.
That's what I'm saying.
It's. Well, I had a great match with CM Punk. Everybody has a great match with CM Punk.
Exactly.
I had a great match with AJ Styles. Everybody
exactly.
Has a great match with AJ Styles.
You're making my argument for me.
Yeah. I get it. I get it completely. He's had some great matches with Brock though. He's had some great matches. He's had some good matches with some great talent.
Yep.
But again, there are people that can drag a good match pretty much out of anybody. And
true.
I think that's because Cena, when he goes up against people that are lesser than him as far as talent is concerned, most of the time it sucks.
Yeah.
Most of the time I don't want to see it.
Yep.
But he could get away with it because he was working for WWE. If he was working for the National Wrestling Alliance in the 80s, if he was working for WCW, if he was working for AEW, if he was in AEW now, like if the Doctor of Thugonomics, let's say Max Caster was right. Okay. Let's just say that was John Cena. And everybody started to see, so Tony Khan was boys with John Cena. And John Cena with the same moveset in 2005 was now beating guys like Kenny Omega and others with like the attitude adjustment.
Yeah.
AEW would be closing up shop in 2 months. because what little audience they have now would be like, fuck this.
Oh,
You
man.
can get away with it because it's WWE. Because that was the style of WWE. It's always been, top guy doesn't have to be the best wrestler. It was like that with Hogan in the 80s. But Hogan brought other shit to the table. And also, and we've talked about it here, and Mac, who is not exactly the biggest Hulk Hogan fan at times. I think he's come around to him maybe more as he's gotten older. He's even admitted on this program with me that Hogan was an excellent worker if you saw him in Japan.
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%.
And he does more than Cena. I remember I almost shit myself when I saw him throw an Insegiri one time.
What a drop kick, yeah.
Fucking Hogan?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
He did the
drop
high
kicks.
knee.
Yeah.
Well, I knew always he used to do the high knee too. I think that was something he used to do in the 80s too. But it was more than just the slam, the 3-punch, the big boot, the leg drop. He did a better STF than Cena. It's for fucking sure. He did a cross arm breaker that was pretty sick. Like Hogan could go. And so that argument I could sit there and say, well, Hogan, he can go.
But, it's a good conversation because what you said about that, not only that, but obviously Cena in like an AEW kind of format, like even Cena now in WWE barely works. You can't put him in a match with Roman Reigns. Not anymore, really.
Not anymore, no.
Unless it was that tag match to close out last year, but that's a tag match. You can rely more on KO. And then you can't put him against Cody. Cody's way too talented at this point. Even was, I would argue, years ago. Even guys like Finn Balor. You can't even put him in with Finn Balor, really.
No.
It's just completely different style, different speed, different pacing. He's not going to work. And
he's aged out. He's not the.
I would even argue before he aged out, he wasn't going to do it. But
the Austin Theory match at Mania last year was a letdown. The matchup with Solo Sikoa back in Saudi Arabia was not exactly fantastic either. And this is a guy that he's been in this game long enough where he should be able to carry these guys to acceptable, higher quality matches. And I feel like these guys are like Austin Theory didn't come out of it as a bigger star. Solo Sikoa didn't come out of it as a bigger star.
I mean, partially with that's booking, though, because they really haven't been booked as much after, if you think about it.
There were guys a year ago, and some of these people I work with over at Pro Wrestling, that were trying to sell me on the idea of Solo Sikoa being like the next Roman, like as far as a dominant champion, a world champion. And I was just like, eh. And I don't even think it's really his booking either. I just don't think he's. Jey Uso, I feel like, would be a better world champion than what you would get with Solo Sikoa.
I even made the argument that Jimmy would, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
They just haven't given Solo a personality.
It's just they're trying to make him like an Uso, but he's also Umaga. And it's like you can't really. There's no mixture of that.
Yeah, that whole thing didn't make sense to me.
It didn't. And
it still doesn't, I should say.
I've never liked the thumb, the Samoan spike. I've never liked that fucking finish. Guys now can hit fucking three super kicks in a row. And yet he's still what the fuck? What is that?
Yeah. It's pretty stupid. Since we're talking about top guys, though, I might as well segue right to Cody. How did you feel about that kind of last 5-10 minutes of Raw before it went off there?
Oof.
It was a little interesting, at least, I thought. I don't
like
know
I
how else
said,
I should
it's
feel
just
about
so
it.
much intrigue behind everything.
Right.
I don't even know where his path is. It's like, oh, we're set for it. It's the only path is it's like, okay, Roman and Cody is going to happen, or is it?
Yeah.
Because now he's challenging The Rock. It's like, what the fuck are they doing? What are you doing?
Yeah, it's really one of those years that I just have no idea. We could look at last year's cards before, and we were doing a different show back then, obviously too. But we could look at the last year card, and we predicted a big chunk of it. Like Charlotte and Rhea. It was an easy prediction for us.
Yes.
We thought that was Rhea's time. Finn Balor as the Beast against Edge. Props to Finn Balor on that match after getting split open, but we kind of figured out how that match was going to go. Could make the argument for Shane McMahon and Snoop Dogg. But again, on paper, if we look at it now, we'd be like, yeah, I mean, Snoop Dogg is probably going to win anyways. And I think it was actually The Miz, because The Miz kind of went in for Shane McMahon after double quad blowout. But yeah, still, you kind of figured that out. Dom versus Ray, same thing. You can pretty much figure out how that match was going to go. A lot of the matches on that card, you can figure out how it was going to go. Cody and Roman, I felt going in was going to be Cody. And I know a lot of people were not disappointed with the finish. A lot of people were. A lot of people looking at it now after the fact were like, damn it. Like after what happened this year, especially with Roman not really defending the belt.
Absentee champion.
Yep. So I feel like going into this year, even looking at the other matches, which we're not going to go through holistically because we already had the show over the weekend. We've only had Raw since then, so we don't need to go into further detail really at this point. But this main event scenario is just a very, very interesting situation. Both from him bowing out of it to him coming back to it, involving The Rock, now challenging The Rock. Seth Rollins potentially trying to insert himself in some way into that, trying to get other people to do the same. It's interesting. And you almost kind of wonder if this, situation on Monday with him and Heyman and the three henchmen, whoever the hell they were, random wrestlers from the region, obviously.
Well, one of them actually, I recognize. I actually interviewed him a couple of times at Pro Wrestling World. AJ Kirsch.
Oh, no shit.
He actually won The Rock's. The Rock had when he opened up his YouTube channel, he did a promo challenge, and the guy actually won. And he was on, I think, the last season of Tough Enough, or maybe the season. No, the one that Steve Austin hosted. So this is going back 2011.
Yeah, that's a long time ago at that point.
Yeah, he was a part of that. And it went, but yeah, I mean, it was interesting seeing him. He pointed that out on some on his Facebook page, pointing it out to everybody this week. But yeah, AJ Kirsch was one of the guys, which is funny because I thought he just retired. I think the end of last year. So, but it was good to see him on there. It's always funny how sometimes you're watching it, you're like, hey, I know that guy.
Yeah. Like green shirt guy.
Yeah. Or tight shirt guy in our neck of the woods.
Oh God. All right, that's another story for another time. Anyways, back to Cody for a second. It's telling that they had this happen though, like a month before Mania, where they have people come out and attack them, because you almost wonder if that is a storyline they could pursue to get him out of the main event still, and maybe bank the main event for another PLE, so to speak. I know that's something that's kind of in the media being tossed around. I don't know how much truth there is to it, or if it's even still in play at all, or if it's just going to tease it. It's just, I think he, at this point...
Just have Cody pin Rock in a tag match and shut the fuck up and go on with... why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Why are we continuing this?
But this goes back to what I said over the weekend show. Like, how do you do that? How do you do that? Because you can't put them on free TV. That's stupid.
It's gotta be a tag match night one.
It has to be.
That's the only reasonable conclusion to all of this. And because it's like you put yourself into such a fucking corner. Because it's like, what are you gonna do? Cody Rock night one? Oh, fuck you.
I don't want them to do that. I think it should be a tag match, and I'm just gonna say it this way, right? Whatever happens on night one happens on night one, and night two is going to be a different beast. But if we're talking about like turns, I don't care if The Rock stays heel after WrestleMania, but he should turn on Roman Reigns.
Well, I agree.
All right, so we're on the same page then.
We're on the same page.
I'm just gonna leave it there then, because we can keep going about that. There's one more thing on the slide that we didn't get to when we kind of talked about Monday Night Raw, and it was kind of in the same vein as Sami Zayn and kind of still figuring out where that's going to go for his, WrestleMania aspirations, as it were. But Liv Morgan's another one. I think it's becoming a slightly more interesting story that you could potentially add her into a triple threat match between her and Becky and Rhea.
This was... We both talked about this going into Elimination Chamber. Yeah. We said these are the two candidates that'll win the women's match. But I was 95. We were both kind of 95% sure that it was going to be Becky, and it was.
Yep.
But now they plant the seed of doubt that it's not going to be a one-on-one match. It's going to be because again, the word retirement and Becky Lynch has been hand in hand recently. Like the rumors are really picking up. It's like every week I'm reading it that this is it, or this is going to be like her last big run or something. I don't know.
Right.
She's in a position where she doesn't have to she's in a position where it's weird because she could leave on top now and just say, I'm one of the best ever. But you're losing, again, another really big top star. But then you have Rhea. You have Tiffany Stratton, who everybody's still raving about her performance over the weekend. You got Liv Morgan. There's so many girls in the pipeline now that if Becky Lynch decided to retire and decided this is it, they could recover and recover quite easily. So, do I hate the thought of Becky Lynch being out of WWE? I do. But at the same time, I have to come to grips and say, there's plenty of other women, though, that could be showcased, not just her. So, I think that them also trying to kind of plant seeds of doubt, of not the obvious answer. And, Liv Morgan, I think, kind of with her not quick promo, but more or less her comment that she made to Becky.
Yeah.
There's some truth to that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So there are people that are going to watch that and they're going to say, shit, but Liv's right. And Liv is another underneath babyface that really has a following behind her. Like I said at the Royal Rumble, when she came out at 30, that audience did not flip out like they did with Rey Mysterio in 2014. Because everybody was like, oh, well, we want, there was a small smattering of Sasha.
Yeah.
But in the end, Liv came out and people were like, yeah, all right, we love Liv. So she's kind of, if she's in the main event, or not main event, but if she's in the match with Rhea and Becky, somehow gets herself inserted in, I don't think people would be mad about it. Like I don't. Do I want a Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley head-on one-on-one match? Yeah, but if you don't want Rhea to get pinned, if you want to give, I don't know.
So no, because I know where you're going with that, and I get it. So let's say that Becky signs, temp contract. I don't even know where her contract's up, honestly, but
I don't either. I know it's sometime this year, but I don't know when.
Right. So just playing devil's advocate, let's instead say it's like SummerSlam. She could lose. She could lose whether it's, Liv pinning one of them. I don't think it really matters, honestly. She could pick up a feud with that person if she wanted to, or Rhea could turn around and be like, hey, I still don't know who's better, me or you, because you didn't pin me, and I didn't pin you. So they could still play it that way and kind of exit the Women's World Title Championship, whatever, and kind of do it outside of that. And that potentially frees up Rhea to then go back and get the belts next year at next year's WrestleMania. Just using that as like a baseline for a second. They could do it. I don't think they would be wrong to do it, especially because, like you said, putting over other talent is not a bad idea, and this kind of time that we're in right now, if you just look at what's happening with the men's belts at this point, you have to get other talent in there. And, I will be interested to see whenever Jade finally debuts as a full-time star. I would be interested to see if Charlotte comes back at some point, if she comes back. And it's interesting because we said it last show, and I agreed with it. You had said that there's probably about 20 to 25 top female talents in that company right now. And it's
That's
true.
Right.
It's true. It's damn true. It is, though. Like, you mentioned Tiffany Stratton. I don't think she's going to come out in this match, but she's another rising star. You have Roxanne Perez in NXT. You have Cora Jade, despite being injured right now, and you have just other stars like Bayley and Io, Bianca Belair, and so many others that you should kind of shift the focus to a little bit. And that's not to take anything away from Rhea, because she's a phenomenal talent. She's at the top of the food chain in terms of women superstars in WWE right now at this point, even above the, 3 horsewomen at this point. I'm not going to name the other one.
I also think, well, you can make an argument that Rhea is not just one of the top women stars, but one of the top stars in the company, period.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I would probably put her at number 3 and number 4, honestly. She's definitely in the top 5.
She's in the top 5.
Yeah, 100%. You could make
Cody,
the argument.
Roman.
I was going to say you can make the argument Cody, Roman, Seth, and her. Yeah. And if you don't even count Roman because he's not there full time, then she's easily top 3.
Well,
she's definitely the top female talent. But
you got to put Logan Paul in that category too.
No, I fucking don't. No, I don't.
No, you don't.
No.
I'm talking about visibility.
I understand. I get it. I
understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I had to make the joke. I don't have to do shit.
I don't have to do shit with this fucking guy. Like, no, but Rhea is, you could make an argument too that she was the best, maybe had the wrestler of the year for WWE for the whole company. Same thing with Bianca Belair the year before. I said 2022. I said Bianca Belair. I said you can make an argument that she was the best wrestler for the company, for men or women. And Rhea, you can put in that category as well last year for her, because the main world champion was not on television for about 6 months total.
Yeah, but they kind of didn't utilize her as much as they could have. I feel like that's not.
She's a top champion to book. She is.
No, it's not that they just didn't book her enough. I feel like.
No, I agree, but all she had to do was come out. She's one of the most over fucking people on the roster.
Yeah, that's true.
She just has to come out with that smile and just melt everybody's minds, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think there's a lot of interesting stories. We're not even talking about SmackDown because we did that over the weekend, anyways, talking about the Elimination Chamber stuff. So I think this is all we can milk out of the road to WrestleMania, at least for this week. But it'll be interesting to see where SmackDown goes since we're recording this the night before. It'll be incredibly interesting, in my opinion, to see where that goes. Supposedly, Seth Rollins is going to be at SmackDown.
I heard Cody Rhodes too.
I was just about to say it. I heard Cody might be there too, so we'll kind of have to see. Because I don't think Rock is booked for this one.
Yes, he
booked.
is.
Oh, he's booked for this
Yeah,
Friday?
he's booked for, I think, almost every
I knew he's
SmackDown
booked for the
in March.
8th and I believe the 15th, but I didn't know about March 1st.
I could have sworn I saw that.
Oh, that'll be
'cause
interesting.
they announced him, I think, for the next couple of shows,
Right.
and I think that they sold out for Friday. Like it put him over the top.
Hey, you're tapping on my end because I'm going to actually look it up.
That's fine.
Well, I meant for you watching the show. Like, what the fuck is that noise?
I was just like, oh, what is that?
Yeah, seriously. What is
Typing.
that noise?
He's actually using a keyboard, people. I know everybody else, we just use it or use our touch screens, and they're pretty much just like,
I'm at a computer.
Oh, no!
I'm at a computer. I don't care. So he is touting Rock. Oh, you're right. So the Rock is, so according to Ringside News, the Rock is set to make his return on March 1st edition of Friday Night SmackDown in Glendale, Arizona. He's booked.
I'm not booked.
I'm not booked. I just I love that impression so much.
I'm not booked.
I'm not booked. I'm not booked. I'm not going because I'm not booked.
This is making somebody pop right now because that's all we ever do in a cover. It's like, I'm not booked.
Well, I mean, every time we talk about like if a wrestler is going to be there, it just comes up naturally. It's check out not booked. Just Google it. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, just type in Dennis Stamp. I'm not booked.
Yep, not booked.
Still one of my.
Well, I'm going to have to get the audio for another show at some point and just do it.
Still one of my favorite documentaries ever, just because that scene when he's on the trampoline. I watch what I eat. I'm 50 now. I mean, I haven't had a match in 4 years, but I'm going to get a call anytime. No, they're not.
But I'm not going to show up anyways because I'm not booked.
It's just they're not calling Dennis. You gotta understand. He's yelling at Terry Funk in the parking lot, even though his argument was valid.
It was.
It's just like I'm not booked. I'm not involved. So why am I going to be there? Very valid argument.
Yep.
No.
Yep. All right. I guess, like I said, we're pretty much done with that conversation, so we can kind of switch gears to talk about 2K24 coming out March 5th if you have early access. Otherwise, you have to wait till March 8th.
Who's not going to get the
early access?
Yeah, not going to get early access. You got to ask that question.
If you have a game that you're really interested, just as a gamer, period, and I know you fall into this category too. If you have a game that you're really interested about and you're waiting for it, you're going to do early access.
You're going to do early access without question. No one just buys the basic game anymore unless, because I think I buy the basic NBA 2K only because I don't play my player,
right?
Or I don't play my team. I usually just play offline franchise mode. So usually NBA eras or something of that nature. I'm not playing anything that involves microtransactions. It's the same thing with MLB. It's like I'm gonna buy the basic edition because I really don't need shit. I really don't need like all the extras and that type of stuff, unless the deal, unless that copy is cheaper than the actual copy. Because sometimes it happens where it's like the actual copy is $60 and then the standard edition is $60, but you can get the gold edition for $40. It's like, oh shit.
So hold on. So that's a good topic actually that I didn't even kind of think of until you actually said what you just said. This is one where I'll get a day one, so I get early access.
Right.
But there are other ones out there that I would probably enjoy that I just wait. And it's not even a question of wanting it or not wanting it or whatever. It's because you know there's going to be those complete editions at some point.
Right.
And when I say that, I'm thinking with a K because Mortal Kombat does this, especially the last couple
time,
where it's like you have to pay extra for all these characters, but if you wait a year for like the complete edition and you don't really care about the multiplayer as much, you just wait a year, you get the complete edition, you get access to all the characters for the low price of just whatever the base game was.
Same thing was like Street Fighter. It happens every year where it's just like, okay, the basic edition. And then you start adding up all these packs and all that stuff. And then you wait 2 or 3 years maybe. Oh, new Mortal Kombat. Oh, that combat game I wanted. Oh, and it's $25 and it's the complete edition.
Yep.
I don't have to spend any more. So really you're saving yourself a ton of money.
Yeah.
Because you're not buying any of the DLC. You're waiting for it to come out complete. Yeah, and you're getting the base game also. So it just, Mac is 100% right. There are some games that it's worth doing this. WWE, I feel like it is worth doing this. That's why I'm doing it. That is why I'm going to spend the extra money for day one access, but also because of the fact that I don't want to have to pay for the DLC because the DLC packs this year look fucking fantastic.
But that's the other thing we should probably mention too, is that this is all in one pack. You get so the Road to WrestleMania pack, the 40 years WrestleMania pack, whatever the hell you want to call it, is obviously going to be more expensive, but you're gonna get everything that comes out for this game. It's not like Mortal Kombat where you have to pay X amount for like 2 characters. It's not going to be other games that say they're going to do a season pass, but then they don't because, we're not going to do a DLC anyways. And then they fucking do a DLC, and it just completely fucks you. This is, you get all the characters that is in the base game regardless anyways, right? And then you get the season pass as part of that pack, and you get all the DLCs that come out for this game. That's huge. And is it more expensive? Yeah.
Yes.
Is it worth it? That's up to you. But Dan and I agree. Yes, it is. Yep.
I think from the standpoint that, because I am a massive history fan of wrestling, and so are you. But this is now going to be maybe the first title in professional wrestling history where you are going to be able to have the biggest stars of the 1970s through the 2020s.
100%.
Because Bruno's in the game, which he was in last year. So was Harley Race. Bruno.
Oh, Bruno. Okay. I heard Harley Race. I just didn't hear Bruno. Okay.
Bruno is in the game. Harley Race is in the game. Dusty Rhodes is back in.
Yep.
For the first time ever, superstar Billy Graham will be in a WWE game. And Terry Funk will be part of the DLC pack. I think the very first one was CM Punk. So there's your 1970s.
Yeah.
Your 80s, Hogan, Savage, etc. Andre. 90s, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker. 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. You are talking about a legacy of not only the last 40 years of WrestleMania, but you're talking about the 1970s. You're talking about almost 6 decades of talent in one video game. Is it overwhelming size talent? No, there's only a couple from the 70s, but you got the WWF championship in it. You can create your own kind of, if you wanted to have 70s and 80s wrestling on one show, you wanted to, like, which you can possibly do now because you can just create Saturday night's main event and just have Saturday night's main event on Saturday with all the older old school crew, and then you can do something on Monday nights. And if you want, the possibilities now are endless.
Yeah, That's the thing I love about this. Not only just the fact that you have all these characters, but you have all these match types too that we can kind of get into a little bit more in depth in a little bit. But I'm looking at some of the talent now, and I believe this is okay. So the site I'm on is called www.smackdownhotel.
Yes, that is the definitive.
Yeah.
I hate to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
That is the definitive website for any information for any wrestling game ever.
Yep.
I will give them an absolute plug because they are the definitive website as far as history is concerned, as far as going back, I think, to even before the 2K games. They have.
Oh yeah, it's
the roster's caught up.
Yep.
They have everything.
Yeah.
They are, in my opinion, the ultimate resource for any wrestling game ever.
Yeah, I will confirm that since I'm on the website right now. It's better the plug come from you, anyways. Yeah. But they have the full roster for 2K24 at the very top. They have 2K23. They have the AEW game listed too, ironically enough. They have the Super Card. They have other games listed, all games. They have events and stuff like that. So, like, show events and stuff. It's pretty sick. So this one is just, if anybody wants to check it out, just for the roster alone, in addition to anything else, obviously, you can still go to the same website. So it's www.smackdownhotel.com. The website I'm looking at for the roster is /WWE 2K24 /roster. And it's broken down pretty well. You can do the full list. You can do Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Women's, Legends, DLC, NPC, and just new. And it's funny because I was looking at the picture for Fallon Henley, and I was kind of far away for a second, like leaning back in my chair, and I thought it was Brett Baker at first. But it's interesting the amount of not only the characters, like we said at the top of the show, it's like 250 plus with all DLCs and everything.
Yes.
There's obviously some current talent that you're not going to get right away. So a couple here just rattling off that everybody kind of knows about right now. Kairi Sane is going to be a DLC. Current NXT Women's World Champion or Women's Champion Lyra Valkyria is also going to be a DLC. Pat McAfee apparently is going to be a DLC. Stardust is a pre-order. I think people know that. Same as Superstar Billy Graham, which Dan already mentioned. Sensational Sherry apparently is in this game too.
Yeah. Yep.
It's crazy the amount that are actually in this game. And I just saw one, I have to go back now, that I think is a little bit funny because it looks like there's only one version. Hold on, I just lost it. CM Punk, you could make the argument, needs more than one version. Another DLC, Carlito. I don't know why I just scrolled past him like twice too. I'm surprised they don't have like an Attitude Era version of Carlito. Especially when you consider the amount of versions some of the other superstars actually have.
There are the good thing about that is there are really good creators that have been able to because you can download alternative attires now. I don't know if you know that because you've been out of the game for a while.
Thanks. Yep.
But you can update. I've seen some people do very. Like, I have a save on 2K23 of AJ Styles, and it's AJ Styles from the TNA days. The hair.
That's pretty cool.
Everything. Yeah, they did a hell of a job. These guys do a hell of a job de-aging people, making them look younger. Great attention to detail. It'll be interesting. A couple of years, and it started a couple of years ago when I think it was 22. WWE did not, or 2K for that matter, did not put in a younger version of Triple H. It was the older version of Triple H with the bald head and all that stuff. So someone made a perfectly modded Triple H with the long hair and all that stuff. And to be fair, they have learned their lesson because last year it was They had Triple H current, and then they had Triple H like 2008, which I think that will be happening again this year from what I see. They have a 2008 version of Triple H, but they also have one from WrestleMania 30, and they have
3. I got it right here. Yeah. Sorry. So it's Triple H Ball. I'll just gonna say it that way. More or less modern, given last time I wrestled, especially how he looks in this picture without gray, anyways. Triple H 08 and Triple H WrestleMania 30.
Yeah. The funny part that I find about it, they have his WrestleMania 30 tire in there. Is his opponent doesn't even work for the company anymore, so it's not like they could have done. It's not like they could have done like a. I don't know what their thought process was giving him with that, because it's like he can't even use the guy because he's not in the. I don't get it. Yeah. But regardless, they also, the one thing I also hope that they do is the DX theme and Titantron and all that stuff have been out the last couple of years. Hopefully they add it back. Or it becomes something that you can obtain in my faction, because this is the shitty part of the games the last couple of years. They have alternative attires for talent in my faction. The problem is it's locked in my faction. Like you can't carry it over to Exhibition or Universe, anything offline. I've heard though that might change this year, but I can't get a confirmation. At least we're not going to know a confirmation of that for a while.
Right.
It probably for another month or so. Who knows?
I mean, I'll see some screenshots, but I'll look at that while we're talking.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me though, as we kind of look at this website and just talk about it in general, because like I said, like I know a lot of like the roster anyways, but it's really those extra pieces that I wouldn't have really known, because like I said, like I've been not playing wrestling games for like 20 years at this point,
right?
So looking at, and it's almost comical in a way that they have them sometimes, because sometimes they're a lower rating. So just kind of looking top down at the moment, scroll down to B, and Becky Lynch is a 94. They also have Becky Lynch 2019, who's rated at a 90. It's like, okay. Bianca Belair is a 95. Bianca Belair 2017 is a 70. So okay.
That was her NXT. That was when she just that was when she just signed with the company.
Yeah, no. I know the timeline. It's just funny. Cody Rhodes, obviously, there's a couple in here. Cody Rhodes Elite by faction is literally a picture of the toy with the torn pec.
That's actually the Defining Moments ringside collectible exclusive Cody Rhodes.
Oh man!
I don't know how I know that though.
I can't imagine. There's 3 Hogans. There's 4 Undertakers. There's Indy Hartwell apparently. There's, oh my god, are you kidding me? All right, so we talked about John Cena earlier. What's inside of the way now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 John Cenas.
Yeah. I think
I'm sorry. Hold on. I apologize. All of these are 2020. I'm sorry.
I know.
All right. So hold on. So it's John Cena is a 94. Okay. Then there's John Cena 20 is 89. John Cena 20, but 2002. So I guess maybe because it's 20 years. I guess the 20-year anniversary. That might be why.
So at 2020 at WrestleMania 36, he fought Bray Wyatt in that. The Firefly Funhouse match. So during that match, and I strongly suggest you watch it. It's they did it theatrically, like it's more like cinematic, if anything.
A cinematic Bray Wyatt match. Get out.
Yeah, and it's him in different gimmicks. So you just kind of see him go through his career like 2002. Like there's one at one point where he's actually in an NWO shirt, which, oh God, so many people now are going to be like, well, now I can put him in the NWO. It's
But
like,
that's
no,
what it
this
is.
fucking
There's an
sacrilege.
NWO. There's an NWO Cena. There's
That I do like that option, because now I can, if I really wanted to have Cena in the NWO, even though that's not going to happen. The only guy I really put in the NWO that I thought would fit was, I usually do Shawn Michaels in the NWO.
I mean, he was in the NWO, yeah.
He was for a cup of coffee, but he was still in there.
Yep.
And I just want the ability to kind of, like, I could care less though with like John, like John Cena in the end. No, that's not happening. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Like, it's either, I think at one point I had RVD in the NWO. That's a possibility still. But no, Cena was never somebody that I would, even though he has the attire now, I'm going to be like, I'm never going to use this.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So the 2020 part kind of makes a little bit more sense now then. It was just kind of weird to say 2020, but then 2002 right next to it.
I'd check that out. If you have a moment, I would check out, check out Bray Wyatt versus the Fiend Bray Wyatt against John Cena.
They have, oh my God, I'm just scrolling down now. They have MVP, and it looks like his ring attire is the Black Panther suit he used to wear.
Hope they don't get sued.
Yeah, seriously. They have Razor Ramon, so I'm kind of curious if they have Scott Hall as well.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, he's in there. I think there's two versions of Scott Hall in this.
Well, I mean, one's at least Razor Ramon, so if they do, then yeah.
Well, there's three technically. There's an Outsiders Scott Hall, and I think there's an NWO Scott Hall, but I think you have to unlock them.
Probably. They had two Romans. Roman Reigns with a 97 and Roman Reigns 2015 with a 90.
Makes sense.
They have Ronda Rousey, unfortunately. Anyways, moving on.
She's good in the video game. Come on.
Whatever. They have three Rey Mysterios. So one is the current one, who's an 88. They have Rey Mysterio Jr. So we actually talked about this a couple months ago when we did the Halloween episode on Pro Wrestling World Talk, which Dan can plug later. Rey Mysterio with the purple outfit from Halloween Havoc. That's the one they're showing here.
He's been in there since 22.
Okay. Because
the showcase was in 22 was Rey Mysterio, his whole career.
Yep, which ironically is enough. Yeah, ironically enough is the third Rey Mysterio's 22 WrestleMania 22. So
right.
Ironically, they have three Rhea Ripleys. Yep. They have three Rhea Ripleys. The current one, which is a 96, Rhea Ripley, 2017 and 72 when she had her long blonde hair, and then the WrestleMania 36 Rhea Ripley.
That was a hot outfit she wore too.
Yes, it was. And I liked her as a blonde too. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. Her natural hair color. Let's see. They do have Scott Hall. I do not see an NWO version, but it might be locked out or they're just not showing.
I think it was locked out. I think you have to. It was. Yeah. Okay. I think it was locked out, or it was an alternative attire, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. But whatever, you can use them. You can still have them in the NWO, whether it's Outsiders version or NWO.
Okay. For Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
I do not see a NWO Shawn Michaels, unfortunately.
Yeah, it'll have to be an alternative attire.
I'm sure it probably will be too. So 05, 09, 94.
Did I see the 2009's version is higher than 2005's?
Yes. So I will rank them. So the current Shawn with the cowboy hat, I don't know why they needed to do a current version of Shawn, but okay, is it 87? Mm-hmm. Next ranking would be 94, 85. 05 would be at 89, and then 09 would be at 93.
All right.
So yeah, 05 is yeah. Surprise, but whatever.
4 years older. I don't know how his ratings would be higher, but okay.
I mean, I don't know. We can talk about that with this next one who appears multiple times, Steve Austin. current ranking is 86. In 97, he was ranked at 89. And in 2001, he was ranked at 96.
Yeah, that's believable.
Yeah, that's actually a decent ranking,
that's
I
fair.
feel like. The Great Muda is here, too, as a DLC, which surprises me a little bit.
That's the first.
Yeah,
I'm really excited about that, though.
No, me too. I'm definitely happy for him, but it's just... I'm sure it's because he was an inductee last year, but still,
Right.
It's a little surprising. The Rock, ironically, is only here twice. And it's current Rock 94 and 01 Rock 96.
Wow, so him and Austin are both rated 96s.
Yeah, let me go back.
That
Yeah,
year.
both 96 and 01. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Let's see. We already talked about Triple H. Warrior is at 92. What the hell? Okay, moving on. Uncle Howdy is in the game,
Yeah.
which I think is kind of weird.
No, I mean, you know, if the money's they're going to push out as much as they can.
I agree. Yeah,
for the Bray Wyatt intellectual property, so that way the family can make some cash.
that's true. All right, so Undertaker, he's here quite a bit. So let's walk through the Undertaker. So the interesting thing about the Undertaker is he has nothing below a 90. No scores below a 90. So, oh man, I don't even know where to start. So I guess the Dead Man, which is really the newer Dead Man version,
Right.
is a 95.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm just going to go in order of how they have them here, not like a specific or set order. 03 Undertaker, so this is like American Badass Undertaker,
Right.
is a 92.
Okay.
Undertaker 09, when he came back kind of as the Dead Man, but without the hat, is a 96. Undertaker 2014, when he shaved his head.
Oh.
Yep. That's a 94.
Oh, 2014 Undertaker.
Yeah.
I wonder if his oh, wait.
This is when he had like the shaved head, but he had that stripe in the middle.
I was trying to make a joke reference.
Yeah, I got it. Trust me, don't worry.
I
I got it.
Redacted.
Yeah, I got it. I know.
I know.
This is why I just totally ignored the fact that you said it at all. And then Ministry / Corporate Ministry, Undertaker, 1998, 93. I don't hate any of those scores.
No, I don't hate it either. I mean, you think though that the 98 taker might be a little higher. But,
yeah, I would have put him over.
Yeah.
2014 probably.
That'd probably be the one I'm also going to use the most. So
which one? The Corporate Ministry
98.
One? Yeah, me too. Me too. I love the Corporate Ministry Undertaker
Love
theme.
it. Love it.
You know, just that attitude and everything that it had behind it. So I'm not going to get too much further with the roster. Obviously, we're just picking out ones that have multiple entries right now. And speaking of the pre-order bonus, which is kind of why I want to get it, not even just for Superstar Billy Graham, but for Dusty as well, is the Nightmare Family Pack. So that's Cody Rhodes Elite Edition, which we already talked about. It was, the picture is literally the toy with the torn pack. Cody Rhodes Undashing, when he had the plastic mask on his face. I already said Dusty, I already said Superstar Billy Graham, which is kind of weird to be in the Nightmare Family Pack, but hey, whatever. And then Stardust, which was the whole reason Cody left. Some of these also have 40 years of WrestleMania Edition exclusive characters. So I'm assuming that in tandem with the WrestleMania 40 Arena, this will have to do with probably that pack of buying the most expensive version of the game.
Right.
So I actually said 3 of them already, just kind of didn't go into further detail because I wanted to wait for this. But one is that WrestleMania 22 Rey Mysterio Edition, WrestleMania 36 Rhea Ripley Edition, and the Triple H WrestleMania 30 Edition. Those are all part of the exclusive character
Wasn't
pack.
there a Macho King one too?
Yep, I'm gonna get to that.
Okay.
So the last two in that is Charlotte Flair from WrestleMania 33 and Macho King from WrestleMania 6.
That I'm excited for.
Yeah,
because I loved his crown and scepter. That
oh my god, it was hilarious. Yeah, absolutely.
That crown and scepter might be one of my favorite kind of pieces of wrestling, like memorabilia lore, just because of the fact that it's just so iconic. The big with the macho etched into the crown, and then the big jewel in the middle of it. And then, of course,
it looks ridiculous too in the picture
because
he has those sunglasses too, where it's just
so
like
ridiculous.
the orange and black slanted.
I wonder if you can use the scepter as a weapon.
I wonder that too. Yeah, it doesn't say anything.
Like he did against Warrior in '91.
Let me try to click on the link and see if it says anything, because that would be pretty cool.
Just get the scepter from under the ring. Boom!
It doesn't show anything, so I don't.
Oh, you know what weapon was confirmed though?
What's that?
A giant Slim Jim.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so the last one here, and then I'll kind of switch over to the DLCs, is part of the deluxe edition. And this is actually the two that I mentioned earlier. So the deluxe edition, for those that are just unaware, I actually have the graphic right up in the middle of the screen above Andre and Hogan. Cody Rhodes is the regular edition. Bianca and Rhea Ripley are the deluxe edition. And then obviously is that 40 Years of WrestleMania edition. So the deluxe edition will be the deluxe edition and the 40 Years of WrestleMania edition. You should get it in both. And it's going to be the two that I mentioned earlier from 2017, Bianca and Rhea. Because again, they're on the cover. So I know a lot of people kind of heard about the DLCs too, which I do kind of want to get into just very quickly without going too deep with this, because it is a lot, obviously. I know people are probably going to want to wait in some regards because certain superstars are not in it until these DLCs. So we already kind of went through those ones. I believe the first DLC pack is going to be the ECW pack. This one, from what I'm reading here on the same website that I've been on, SmackDownHotel.com, it's ECW, but it also has Punk. Reason it has Punk is because he was in the WWE version of ECW, so whatever. It also... actually, no, hold on. So it's also going to have, just after CM Punk, the Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray and Devon, Sandman, and Harry Funk. The next DLC pack...
Sandman in a WWE game for the second time.
Yep.
In his illustrious career.
I can't wait. I hope Punk... I hope they let him keep Living Color for that, but we'll have to
I'm
see.
sure they will.
Sure they will. They should be able to get the rights. It shouldn't be that big of a deal.
Now, my question is, how long is it going to be before you have Sandman and Steve Austin as a tag team winning the titles?
When's this come out? May 5th? I'm sorry, May 15th? Probably May 16th. Probably May 16th. I'm going to have a full alcoholic faction. I don't know why you're even trying to joke around right now. That's going to happen.
Scott Hall. Let's see. Steve Austin, Scott Hall, Sandman. Who else?
We'll figure
Kurt
it
Angle
out.
is more pills, not you know.
Kurt Angle's more pills. All right. Anyways, before we get sidetracked, so the next DLC, number 2, June 26th, Post Malone and Friends. That's just I hope that's not the name of the DLC pack.
I'm okay with it.
No, I'm not.
Like,
I hope it's not the name of the DLC pack. But it does ironically have Post Malone. It also has Honky Tonk Man, Jimmy Hart, Sensational Sherry, and the Headbangers, Mosh and Thrasher.
Fuck me.
Yeah.
Jesus, the goddamn Headbangers.
Not the best pack.
Well, the Hockey Talk, man.
So do you know? So So it looks like we're doing this pretty much monthly, except for August, from what I can tell. Apparently, this one is so far just one person, but it might be playable co-hosts, more to be announced.
Oh, yeah.
And it's literally called, especially since it's the only person in the pack right now, the Pat McAfee pack. Moving on. Yep, Global Superstars pack. This one's slated for September 20th. This one is actually a pretty good one. I like this one. So the first one is Carlito, followed by Dragon Lee, Jade Cargill, Kairi Sane, Lyra Valkyria, Michelle McCool, and Nia Jax.
That's a damn good one.
That's a good one. Yep, I totally agree. So looks like we skipped October going into November. This is, ironically enough, it looks like the first two, and it really is. It's the WCW pack. Even though not everybody here was in WCW at the same time, let alone at all, depending. So we have Diamond Dallas Page, DDP, Lex Luger, Mr. Perfect, The Great Muta, and the Iron Sheik.
No, all of them were in WCW at one point.
But not together, but that's... And would you really make the argument that Sheik was a wrestler at that point?
Sheik in the late... Well, Sheik, they gave him a contract in the late 80s and early 90s. And, yeah, he was working for them.
Was he?
But they kept him off TV because he was not doing well physically.
No, he wasn't. That's why.
And because Turner is Turner, at one point they forgot to not renew him, and they renewed him accidentally. So they had to bring him in for. Cornette talks about it on YouTube. It's hilarious. Shocking. And he's just like, and they had to bring him in because they're just like, well, we got to pay him. And so they just started paying him to do jobs. And he kept showing up to TV. So they just finally had to say, we got to let you go. You can't do this anymore.
Oh, my God. That's hilarious.
But, he got another free year out of them because they're incompetent. So, it's just like that WCW pack. It's like, all right, it makes sense. But I'm happy Sheik's in the game, though. That'll be fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you can have him break Hulk Hogan's back now. I will make you humble.
Can you not give my ideas away, please? Just please.
I already know where your universe is going to go. I already know.
No comment.
I already know.
No comment. No comment. We're not going to talk about my fun little ideas. So yeah, that's basically the breakdown of a good chunk of the characters, especially the DLCs. There's so many characters here. There's managers here. They're like Paul Heyman's in the game as the manager. B-Fab is in the game as a manager. Maxine Dupree is here as a wrestler, which we're not going to discuss what happened at the house show, by the way, because
poor girl.
I agree. I get it, and I get that as a fan, people want to express their opinions, but I think there's certain expectations that sometimes we have as fans, and she, truthfully, at this point in time, she's still very green. I think people kind of
she's trying though.
She is, and that's why I'm saying it the way I'm saying it. I think people need to be a little bit more mindful of that. But as a fan too, I get it. I do want to touch on some of the match types as well. There's a lot.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember having some of these match types like a long time ago and thinking like, oh, this is the best. And it's like, you look at it now and you're like, no, this is the best. Obviously, so basically I'll preface with this. If anybody played it last year, you have pretty much all the same match types.
Correct.
With the addition of two that I put on the slide. So the one in the top left is, I know it's Randy Orton, and I'm assuming that's Solo Sikoa. I made the picture way too small on my screen, but basically giving an RKO on an ambulance. So the first new match is going to be an ambulance match. It's you shove them in the ambulance, you shut the door, you keep it shut, and that's it. That's how you win the match. Very basic, very easy.
There's one at ringside, and then there's one, I think, in the backstage that you can use.
Okay. That makes
and it
sense.
triggers the. I know people will be like, well, what does it do? Well, when you try to close the doors, it gets you a mini game.
Yeah.
And then you have to win the mini game to be able to win the match.
Yeah. It's just button mashing.
Plain and simple. Yeah.
Or it might be precision, but it looks, from what we have seen in gameplay videos,
it looks
like
to me like it's kind of like how to escape a submission, or
probably.
So yeah.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I think it should be good. Oh my god, my thing is not wanting to stay on this website. Whatever antivirus I'm running right now is just like, nope, leave that site now.
Stop.
Yeah. So the other one, which will probably play out pretty similarly, I did not see a gameplay video for this. This one's in the top right of the screen with the person who made the match famous, that being the Undertaker. Is a casket match.
Yep.
I really am surprised it took them this long to do this. I'm just gonna say.
I think. Well, so the last time that they actually had a casket match, I think, was SmackDown 2 Know Your Role for the PS1. And I know somebody will be like, "But what about the Buried Alive matches? Those were fucking different." And around the time that they did around the time they did the Buried Alive matches was around here's the funny part. Well, it's not so funny. It's kind of dark. But in SmackDown 2006, the story mode was at one point for The Undertaker he was in a Buried Alive match with Eddie Guerrero. The day SmackDown versus Raw 2006 came out, or I think it was the week that Eddie Guerrero passed away. And he was involved in a storyline with the Urn, The Undertaker, in a Buried Alive match. That was creepy.
Yeah.
The next year, SmackDown versus Raw 2007. It was The Undertaker involved with Chris Benoit in a Buried Alive match.
I forgot about that one.
So they needed to
kind of get away from
put
that
a pause
on
that for a while. But I'm glad it's there, just because of the fact that there's not just The Undertaker who's like the supernatural force. You got Kane. You got Bray Wyatt.
Yep.
It would be so for these matches. I think that there's obviously some people around it. You can make it fun and make it interesting. Plus, it's just the fact that it gives a rivalry now for The Undertaker. It gives a rivalry for Kane. And the thing about casket matches and ambulance matches is, this is the way I think, my booking mentality, none of my guys really have to lose, because they're just getting rolled into a casket or getting thrown into an ambulance. So they don't have to be pinned.
True. That is true.
So that can extend your life of like, oh, well, the guy hasn't been pinned in 3 years. He's only been beaten he's only been beaten in a casket match and like an ambulance match.
Yep.
Another match type that I wanted to touch on was they added gauntlet matches.
Did see that. Yep.
And here's the fascinating part for the gauntlet match. So I believe you could go up to 30 wrestlers in the gauntlet match. 30 wrestlers.
Hold on. I just added to match.
It's like
types.
between 4 and 30, I think. Something ridiculous.
Yeah, it's because it's not in like one-on-one. Backstage Brawl is new apparently too, by the way.
Backstage Brawl is the only thing new about Backstage Brawl is, as far as a match type is, here, is you can do multi-man. I think you can do 4 a 3 or 4 now instead of just one-on-one. Because Backstage Brawl the last couple of years has just been strictly for one-on-one matches, and now it can go up to 4.
Hold on. You're making me curious now. Because it says new on Fatal 4-Way and Triple Threat.
Right.
And then 2-on-2. Okay, so that's why it's saying new, because they've expanded it. Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
Though.
And so now Backstage Brawls can be multi-people.
Yep.
They can't do the full 8 like they can and I'm sure people will be pissed off about that.
I don't care.
But look, it's 4 now. You get 4.
Yeah, exactly.
And now glass breaking. There's an elevator.
Oh,
there's so much weird shit because they haven't had glass breaking the last couple of years. Now glass is being able to be broken. So
hooray, glass!
Hooray, glass! Is it real glass or is it Crimea River?
Oh, God. All right. So to go to your gauntlet matches, I did find it. So there's 3. So there's just match, eliminator, or turmoil. You can go anywhere from 4 up to 30 for either one.
That's insane.
It is insane.
That is an insane amount of detail, and also brings me back to the old No Mercy days when we were playing Survival.
Yep. God, yeah.
Survival was the mode you had to play to be able to unlock everyone. There were certain levels that you got to as you got farther along, but it was so fucking frustrating because it's like you're kicking everybody's ass. You survived all these people, yet all it takes is that's the problem with the games back then. Of once you get damaged enough, it doesn't matter how skilled you are. You're going to lose.
Yeah.
And, as much button mashing as you could do. And that was part of the problem, I think, with Fight Forever for AEW, because a lot of it was button mashing. It wasn't a lot of these time sequences where now you can take 4 finishers in a row in a WWE 2K game and still probably kick out because you can set everything up with sliders of how you want damage to be affected, how many finishers you can take. I mean, the replayability of it. And I think that was the big thing that 2K talked about this year was quality of life. They expect and are kind of wanting people to hold on to this game for as long as possible. And the way that they have it set up with the roster, the way they have it set up with Showcase, it's going to be very, very hard for people to put this game down for a long time because the possibilities are endless.
Yeah. It's funny as you were talking, I'm reading about some of the game modes right now too, because obviously, I've been out of this for a while. Like the last time I played a WWE game, like I said, it's like we're talking 20 something years ago, maybe a little bit less. And, some of this is very similar, but maybe they call it something different now. Because I was playing SmackDown games, bro. I wasn't playing 2K.
All right.
I was playing the Raw like we talked about. I wasn't playing this. So I know obviously there's different game modes regardless. And I
think you played some 2K14 with me because I remember.
Probably just messing around though. Probably.
Yeah, we were messing around. I think I had just gotten it, and you were. I think I was living in Hartford at that time. And you would come down and kind of like to hang out for the weekend. Yeah. And we were playing like just random matchups the whole time. And that was in the old PS3 days. And just the amount of customization I did with that. I had alternative music for people. It was so fun. But now that's the only part that I kind of miss is there's no way to do like custom music anymore. But I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they have some built into the game itself, and you could probably use other superstars. But yeah, it would be so nice to have that customization too.
Oh, there was the PS3 era was such a fun experience for me, just because the fact that it was like, oh, I get to do custom tracks, custom music. So everybody came out to like their updated theme music. Like it was endless. Unfortunately, with PS4 and now with PS5 and the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X, things are different.
Right.
And also, I think the thought of licensing and that type of stuff, where 2K was involved in a lawsuit a couple of years ago with someone about a tattoo for Randy Orton in a wrestling game.
Yeah.
And they somehow, and it just makes it so difficult to be able to get anything fun across. And I will say, though, they have gotten a lot better with customization the last couple of years, because you're now able to upload like renders. So your creator wrestler will actually have its actual picture there, like of the talent. So like when you go to the matchup screens, if you're doing Kenny Omega, who works for AEW, if you're doing Kenny Omega versus Shawn Michaels,
Right.
Kenny Omega will look like Kenny Omega. Especially with the moves too. All the moves are in the game from these upper tier talent. Anybody who's anybody. It seems like their move sets in the game, like Will Ospreay, Okada, Kenny Omega, all these top talents. Even the Young Bucks finisher, the Meltzer driver, like they have all these representatives from other companies that it makes it a universal wrestling game. Not only that, I've seen people be able to create content, not even using wrestlers, but using superheroes and presidents and like celebrities and all that fun stuff. I had some fun the last couple of years downloading a politician or two and putting them through tables. I mean, I'm not gonna divulge who. Well, I don't want to.
You can tell me off air. You can tell me off air. It's okay.
Yeah,
well, it's probably for the best
videos. Yeah,
I think you might have.
Yeah, I've. It's one of those things. It's like it. Again, the possibilities are endless, and now the fact that we're getting different arenas, we're getting a WrestleMania 3 arena, we're getting a WrestleMania 5 arena, we're getting a WrestleMania 6.
Yep.
All these WrestleMania 8. I mean, Bret Hart versus Roddy Piper is a WrestleMania showcase. Holy shit!
Yeah.
Like,
so
all this fun stuff.
Why don't we talk about that? Because even if we talk about all the game modes, I feel like a lot of people already know what they are, anyways.
Right.
We can kind of gravitate back to that if we feel the need. But for the 2K24 Showcase of the Immortals is basically like your showcase mode, if I'm not mistaken. Hence Showcase of the Immortals. And it is basically to celebrate 40 years of WrestleMania, 21 different matches throughout WrestleMania history, aka the biggest ones in WrestleMania history. I know, I'm just going to say it this way, some people were upset it was not 40 matches, but I feel like if you have too many, it's just going to dilute it. And honestly,
correct.
Not every WrestleMania has a great match. Let's be real.
No.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go in order that they have listed here. I'm not sure if this is the actual order they will be in. I wouldn't be surprised, but I just want to make sure I clarify that now. So we have Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Randy Savage from WrestleMania 3 with George the Animal Steel and Miss Elizabeth for the Intercontinental title. Number 2. Yeah, I have to assume this is a random order. Just because of this one. Number 2 is Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant with Bobby the Brain Heenan from WrestleMania 3 for the World Heavyweight Championship, or WWE Championship, whatever you want to call it. Number 3 is Rick Rude versus the Ultimate Warrior, WrestleMania 5 for the Intercontinental Championship with Bobby the Brain Heenan, excuse me. Number 4 is Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage from WrestleMania 5. WrestleMania Yeah, doesn't say that actually. Surprisingly,
I think she has her attire in it from Mania 5, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, listen, I would not be surprised, but I'm
Yeah.
just for whatever reason, just not there. So superpowers collide there. Ultimate Warrior versus Hogan to combined Intercontinental and World Heavyweight Championships from 6.
The Ultimate Challenge.
The Ultimate Challenge. You already said this one. Bret Hart versus Roddy Piper at WrestleMania 8. Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels, the ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship for WrestleMania 10. Bret Hart versus Steve Austin in the submission match from WrestleMania 13. It skips pretty wide here. I'm kind of surprised they went right to this one from 8 to 9 anyways. Number 9, though, however, is Steve Austin versus The Rock at X7. Next one is Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle from WrestleMania 20. That's a great match.
That is.
Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels from 21.
Ooh.
Yep. That's Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25. Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker from WrestleMania 30. I hope we play as The Undertaker and we have to beat him. Just saying.
Well, I mean, how is that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Because my thing is, and I hate to cut you off.
No, go ahead. It's fine. We can stop.
Just fucking put him in the game then. Like, make him playable. I don't understand why it's just... Especially considering the fact it's like, so what are you going to do? Change history? So Taker...
Okay, so hold on. Before we ask that question, let's do this, right? So the next one is Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins from WrestleMania 31. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Then the next one is also from WrestleMania 31, is Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. So not only is he in there once, but he's in there twice. And I'm just going to scroll down for teaser. And yeah, those are the only two he's in, looks like. Dude, I don't know. It's weird. All right. I'm gonna move on because we're having a little bit.
The only way that I could see, him making him playable in the game, is if somehow shit dies down, and then they decide we're gonna bring him in for the Saudi shows. That's the only way I see that happen.
So let's be real about this for a second, because I know this stuff just for like the back of my head. He's in the game. He's just not playable. You can't unlock him. That's it. And whatever. Hopefully it dies down and he becomes playable. I'll say it that way. Because he's already built into the game.
Yes. We
just don't know if that'll ever be released or not. So that's the unfortunate side effect to this whole thing. But I don't want to keep talking about it, just saying.
No, I know.
Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair to become Becky Two Belts, as it were, from WrestleMania 35. Bray Wyatt, The Fiend versus John Cena, the Firefly Funhouse match from WrestleMania 36. Steve Austin versus KO, WrestleMania 38. It does not specify that that's a, no disqualification match or anything.
Right.
So I'm kind of curious about that one. Number 19 is Charlotte versus Rhea from last year for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Number 20 is Bianca versus Asuka, same thing from last year for the Raw Women's Championship. And then number 21, also from this past year, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. That is your 21 matches showcase of the Immortals. So maybe you can kind of go through like what it really is, but basically this is like the challenge mode, no?
Yeah, they intertwine these with actual footage from the matches.
Okay.
So it's like you're playing, you have objectives, you have to trigger the objective, then they'll play the actual footage of the match. And then you go on to your next sequence and stuff of that nature. So
that's pretty sick, actually.
It is. It is. It's very intricate how they've done it the last couple of years. I can't remember the life of it. They didn't really use actual footage for 2K14 like in spliced into like the next sequence.
Right.
They've only done that the last 2 years. They did it with Cena last year. They did it with Rey Mysterio. But this year again will be fun because you'll be able to get a small history lesson going into each. So really for kind of a novice fan that hasn't maybe, or a newer fan for that matter, that want to know the history, they'll be able to get kind of like a walking type of like encyclopedia of everything.
Right. That's pretty cool.
So that from that perspective, it's awesome. Yeah.
I feel like it's pretty immersive too.
It's
like,
very immersive.
Like, listen, like I haven't seen it, and that's why I kind of led you to kind of talk about it. But from the sounds of it and from what you're telling me, it sounds obviously very cool, especially as a fan that remembers a lot of these matches. But it just sounds super immersive as well.
I think, without question on that, and I mean the fact is that, and what we talked about earlier, because somebody was upset. I've seen people online, and people are upset that it's not 40 years and 40 matches or whatever. And I'll be the first one to admit it. The last 2 years, like the Rey Mysterio one and the John Cena one, after certain points, I'm like, I want this to be over.
Yeah.
Oh, because it's like it's a grind. You have to unlock everything.
You know,
because when you get the deluxe edition, or you get the edition, or like the top end edition, the WrestleMania Showcase edition, you'll be able to unlock everything day one, because it usually comes out with the accelerator, which the accelerator means you can unlock everything, and also you can change attributes and talent. So if you feel like that AJ Styles, because he's an 85, I think this year, if you wanted to up him to like a 95, you can with the updated attributes, and those can carry over into your universe. So it's not just your like regular like play, like your quick play and stuff like that. You can also carry it over to your universe. Which universe is, it's, you have a giant calendar, and the calendar is, you can book regular TV shows Monday through Saturday, and then you book your PLEs on Sunday. And it's, you can have 12 NXTs PLEs if you wanted to. You could have 12 NXT, 12 WWE main roster pay-per-views. And War Games is included as well with Survivor Series.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then, but also some little featured notes that I think people kind of will appreciate it. Maybe if you haven't played in a long time either. They have changed the blood texturing.
I did read that already
this year.
Yeah,
where now it's not just the head; it appears on the mat, and also can appear on your chest and other parts of your body
too. I guess that was a gripe from last year that I read. It stays, on the mat basically.
I think face paint as well. Face paint damage, you'll actually cause face paint damage.
Yeah, I got all it up right now. So face paint, I'll just go through some of it. Since we're already on the topic of it.
Yeah.
These are so basically additions or tweaks for this year's game. Trading blows is another one. So mini game that locks you in a duel of attacks. It has 4 strikes: punch, knife edge, chop, overhand, and slap. You can choose which one to perform with the left stick. Super finishers: if you stock 3 during the match, you'll be able to use all your stock to perform a super finisher, which will nullify the opponent's resiliency and make it impossible to kick out. Then it discusses the improved blood system. So it makes it drip. Doesn't really specify from where, like you said, but it does stay on the mat this year. You can finally climb, walk, perform moves and finishers, and jump off the announce table like in old games.
First time that they've done that in years.
Yep. 7 real WWE referees are now featured in the game.
Charles Robinson, a few others.
Yep. Classic HCTP ramp-facing camera is returning. You can also
Yes.
change the camera during the match.
That's a big one where they can't, because before the camera, I forgot when they started doing this. It may have been the SmackDown versus Raw days, but
Where it locked the camera in one
right.
place.
The camera now it was just on the hard cam, like it was on the hard cam.
Yeah.
And if you remember No Mercy, you saw up the ramp.
Yep.
If you remember Here Comes the Pain, you saw up the ramp. You shut your mouth. Other ones, you saw up the ramp.
We'd like adjust.
Right.
Yeah.
And now it's that camera's back, which surprising to me that it took them 20 years to even get that done. It's just like, really? Like that fixed. I guess if you're also in spectator mode, you have free roaming cameras.
So it doesn't say that. That was actually the next one, ironically enough. Just says spectator mode. You can watch IA versus IA, AI versus AI, computer versus computer, whatever, by choosing the view you want, including complete free cam. So actually, it does say that. I'm sorry. It was the next sentence that I just didn't read down. So, yeah, you can basically move the camera as much as you want from the sounds of it.
I mean, it is... When we say completely immersive and completely all these bells and whistles that they've been able to do, it's ridiculous. Like this,
I mean, there's still more. Like it's
so much more.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna keep going on this page because this page also has the game modes here too. So the next one is the face paint, which you already mentioned. Gradually fades during a match. Ironically enough, Bret Hart would not be a fan of this next one, but you could you could top rope dive onto a group of opponents outside the ring.
Oh God.
Yeah. That's gonna be fun. New weapon types, including trash cans, guitars, and microphones. It does not say anything about the scepter. The weapons. That's the next one. You can throw the weapons at your opponents. Throwable objects can also be caught and reversed.
I'm so gonna throw chairs at people all the time, though.
Oh my God!
Like chairs and like, the occasional trash can too.
Yeah, no, I got it. Certain characters can pull down the straps. So I'm assuming that means like the singlet straps and stuff like that. Angle was mentioned.
Bret Hart,
Undertaker.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if Braun Breaker, who's also in the game, does it because he does it already.
Kevin Nash, I think, did it too.
Yeah, pretty sure he did at times. Yeah, mostly in I think WCW, but I think he did do it a few times in WWE when it was Diesel. Yeah. Tired finishes and animations are back.
That was a key one.
Yeah.
That was a key one. Yeah.
It makes sense.
It does.
You know? Rebound moves after Irish whips, God, have been fixed and no longer result in constant chest bumping. You can now cue the rebound attack by pressing the grapple button early. If you're late, it triggers an automatic pass by, same as hitting left bumper, so you can try again.
Still annoying. It's just in the middle of it, you'd be like, trying to set this up. Collision. Collision.
I remember just like the old games, obviously, where you just like do this chest bump and you both just stand there like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it sounded like.
Yeah, except it was worse.
Oh, like, yeah, I can tell that. 6 new paybacks. Iron Jaw, remove your stun meter and exit stun state. Fireball, launch fireball to your opponent. Freeze your opponent by using intimidating tactics. Rage, fill your finisher meter to gain you a finisher. It says 6, but there's only 4, so I think there might be an ad here blocking this. Moveset has been expanded. Assignable slots for signatures and finishers have been upgraded or expanded, from 2 to 5. You can now have 3 running corner attacks when an opponent is leaning in the corner. Let's see. It says they improve graphics and animations. Over 90% of facial expressions have been updated. Plus improvements to ramp cam, dive cam, ability to move the camera during live gameplay, provide most visuals, blah, blah, blah. New weapon types, it already says. I don't know why it's here twice. Okay. Alright, so then there's GM mode. I'm not going to get too nitty-gritty with a lot of this because I feel like most people are going to know what it is. So I'll just kind of do like a blanket overview. So the GM mode is brand management. It's brand management sim, it says, continues to expand new features this year. So you can trade superstars. You also have 4 new GMs to choose from. You have Teddy Long, Paul Heyman, William Regal, and Ted DiBiase. I want the $1 Million Man running my show. That's all I'm going to say.
I mean, if he's not stealing welfare
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Shut up. I mean, come on. He's the $1 Million Man. He can do what he wants. And it was his kid. Let's be real. It was Junior. This year we have a new brand to choose, ECW.
Oh, shit.
Yep. New brand to choose from, ECW.
And you can start a pretty good ECW once you get that new pack in, because you're going to have the Dudleys and Sandman right there.
Yep. Dude, you can do a lot. The new match
I still am just wrapping my head around the fact that Sandman is got a Legends deal. It's like, what?
I get it, though.
I get it, but it's still. I'm more happy. I'm more happy that he's at least getting a check every month. It's like, all right, you kind of deserve it, buddy.
Yeah. All right, so new matches. We already kind of went over those anyways. New promo types are tag team call-out, class change, and trading. There's a new superstar journey system. As superstars participate in matches and train, they will now earn experience and level up to gain unique perks. 11 new dialogues and emails, more drama, more championship, talent scouts, and contract management. That's all in GM mode still. I haven't even touched the other stuff yet. Scroll down here. New My Faction mode. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You build your faction, do stuff, etc. Not going to get into that.
Microtransactions.
Yeah, probably. Especially if you do the quick play, but yeah. So the my rise is really, I feel like a lot of people who want to play for storyline purposes, you're going to gravitate towards this or to universe mode. So this year, 2K24 My Rise is an undisputed or unleashed for the women's. Puts players in control of a custom created superstars looking to make a name for themselves and cement their legacies in WWE. So the women's unleashed storyline is players step into the boots of a wrestler who founded the hottest promotion on the indie scene. I feel like this should be the men's instead. just my story. But when allowed to share talent on the larger stage of WWE, will she unleash her full potential or hesitate and hold back? I mean, just why is this not the men's? Why is this not the men's? Just Cody Rhodes, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I'm going to say. The Undisputed, I feel, is a very interesting one. And I almost want to get your thoughts on this one. So, this year's Undisputed, or men's, is Roman Reigns follows in the footsteps of The Rock and heads to Hollywood, vacating his championship and leaving big boots to fill for our protagonist. But the tribal chief won't stay gone for long and doesn't appreciate a pretender on his throne.
I saw the trailer for this earlier, and the line that I absolutely loved. I'm the landlord and rent is due. That was Roman said to the creative character. And I popped for it. I absolutely was like, yes, love that line. Rent is due. I love it. And these.
I almost feel like it should be like the current storyline because he's been gone for so fucking long.
That's true.
Okay, so it goes on to say
have you seen rent prices? He can stay out of it as long as he wants.
Yeah, that's true. I don't have the words. Both experiences offer players multiple choices to make. That's weird. Okay. I was like, what the fuck am I reading for a second? To make that will impact how their careers unfold, including whether to embody the archetype of a Hollywood star, supernatural character, or villainous, brutal heel, and whether align with authority figures like William Regal and The Miz. Okay. In addition, You could also do My Rise specific My Faction cards for both Undisputed experiences, Undisputed, these cards, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to go through the card stuff. Featuring all these different people and others performing My Rise voiceover for the first time, along other Superstars and Legend, expanded rewards, original My Rise characters, unlockables carrying over into the game modes, blah, 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 blah. Plus new environments. It's more impactful on the overall 2K experience than ever before. Okay. Listen, like, it sounds interesting, I'm not gonna lie. I just, on paper it sounds goofy as fuck.
It does.
It just sounds goofy. However, the other one is 2K24 Universe Mode. So this is the one that Dan was talking about. This one is Universe Sandbox that puts players in charge of superstar rosters, feuds, champions, weekly shows, and PLEs. It is now set to feature expanded rivalry actions, which includes run-ins, Money in the Bank cash-ins, scenarios, and brawls. It also is going to have new features and special guest referee support. So that's another thing that we didn't really discuss before. Super special guest referee matches are also going to be involved this year as a new feature. It's this game mode, however, just before I lose track of what I was actually talking about, 2K24 Universe Mode will also have double time matches, which I'm not 100% sure what that means, and a loser leaves town stipulation. There's a lot to unpack there. It should have kind of more storylines for people that are interested in that stuff, and maybe a more a mode that's kind of more immersive, so to speak. The other mode is basically the creation suite, which I don't really consider a mode, but this is the crown jewel of the 2K franchise. It's the best-in-class, most detailed, and robust creation suite. Returns with all new support for Create a Referee and Create a Sign, as well as new parts and animations to design custom superstars, GM, arenas, entrances, moves, championships, and more. So, as Dan kind of mentioned earlier, you could just create your own character, create your own championship, and kind of play it that way. So there's a lot here. Like, there's just so much to unpack with this game, which is kind of why we rushed kind of through to get to this segment. Obviously there's so many matches that we didn't kind of get to talk about. There's handicaps, there's tournaments, there's the Dusty Rhodes Classic, there's mixed match challenges if you want to go back to 2019 with Seth and Becky, Dan's favorite love story. There's just a lot of different stuff here that is just going to make this a great game overall. And like, even looking at win conditions, there's first blood, there's force opponents to exit the cage, there's trap opponent and object. Apparently that's a way you could win the game.
It's the one that I always loved using was like 2 out of 3 falls inside a cage or something like that. Stupid. The win condition thing I probably have used on a consistent basis of just, all right, let's try something different,
I'm surprised they don't have submission. I don't see that.
It's in there.
Oh, I'm sorry, pain or submission. I didn't see it.
Yeah. I think there's ones of submission only and stuff like that.
Yep.
And then there's knockout only. Like, there's so many. I love doing like 8-person matches and then turning on eliminations and just see the chaos ensues when you got 8 people out there with pinfalls and submissions on. Just the possibilities are literally like this. That is the way I can describe this game, folks, is the fact that the possibilities are absolutely endless on what you can do, on the amount of fun that you can possibly have. Like I said, 2K wants to focus. The term that they're using this year is quality of life, meaning that they want this game to be something that people do not put down. They do not want it to end up like certain video games that came out with all this hype and flattened out after like a month or two. They want you to be able to be playing this game in 3 months from now, 6 months from now. I don't know about a year from now, because then they're going to be like, well, the 2K25 is coming out. And it'll be like, oh, okay. Well, what's it going to be then? It's going to be hard to top this year.
But that's what I was going to say, actually.
Like,
so
it's going to be so
year...
hard, because it's like you got Wrestlemania involved, which that's going to be the big, like, I think, selling point, because anybody who used to play a wrestling game, maybe since the PS2 era, they might get involved now and be like, oh, look at this roster. Like, there's like everybody in it. Everybody from my childhood, your teenage years, your adulthood, all these guys, they're all here. So, except Brock, but that's besides the point.
See, the thing that's funny is, like, when we talked about last year on the other show, we kind of said it. We were like, this is a good year to get it because it has war games, there's a bunch of other match types.
Yeah.
And then this year, like, had I known this year would be like this, I wouldn't have bought last year's game. I didn't anyways. But still. It's funny to talk about either way, because I know you did.
Yes.
And I think that had you known what you know now about this year, you've been like, maybe I don't need it this year. It's the same game, and I'm getting that much more for the bang for the buck next year.
I think this year is going to be hard for me next year to transition, because that happens. That happens where you just you see a game, and the problem is with these annual releases. We talked about it very at the top of the program. We talked about annual releases and how difficult it is to kind of keep people motivated, to have people buy the new edition. Where I think at one point, 2K, I don't know if they're still offering it, but I think 2K, if you pre-order 2K24, they gave you 2K23 for nothing, which I found quite hilarious. But also miserable, because I'm just like, you fucks, dropped $100 in this game. I didn't get the top end edition last year, but I still paid $100 for the game. And I wasn't disappointed. I had fun with it. But this year, I just am like, something's different about this year, man. It's like something's different about the people that are involved. I mean, it wasn't like I was sold when CM Punk was announced as the DLC. I was already sold before that came to pass, but I had a feeling he was going to be in the game regardless. It's like, okay, he's coming in at a time where he can probably make the cut for the new game. And sure enough, he's in. So,
I mean, even if he didn't, he would have been the last DLC probably.
He probably would, yeah. Instead of the first one, he would have been like the last one, which that's going to be great. I mean, because now it's, like I said, there's only one omission, which they could settle by some point. I don't know. But everybody else is in it. Everybody else who's been a name and been a top star in this industry since the 1970s are going to be in this goddamn masterpiece. I have a feeling it's going to be a masterpiece, because if Mac, who, like myself, cheap fuck, and I mean that in an endearing terminology, you don't want to be wasting your time and money on something that you know that in 2 months or 3 months, you're not going to be playing again. This, I have a feeling, we're going to play a shit out of it for the first 3 months, and then we're just going to be like, all right, what else can we do? All right, what else can we do?
But that's a good segue for a second, right? So
yeah,
it's all about, for me, and this goes back to like the Assassin's Creed comment that you made earlier, which whatever. It's
I wasn't knocking it.
No, I know you weren't, but it's funny because I can equate that to that a little bit. For me, it's replayability, right? Am I gonna want to play this? And if I play it and beat it in any way, shape, or form, am I gonna want to play it again?
Yeah.
And there are games out there like that. So those open world Assassin's Creed games, I can immerse myself in those and play them multiple times. I've done it. I've played some of them like more than once or twice. We talked about GTA earlier, same thing. Other ones by Rockstar, you could make the argument for both, if not definitely the second, Red Dead Redemption. Same thing. Games that are like immersive, that they're still immersive to the point you have so much fun doing it, you can see yourself playing it again. This is what that game is going to be for us. It's going to be one where we're going to play it for a while. We might stop at random points, but then we'll be like, you know what? I kind of want to make a really fucked up alcoholic faction today. And let's be real, like, that's definitely going to happen for me. Steve Austin and Sandman are definitely going to be in some kind of a faction. I'm not going to lie.
Throw RVD in there.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you could probably throw Warrior in there too, honestly.
Well, you got Paul Heyman for that. He could be the manager.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's definitely a lot of people.
Better call Paul.
Better call Paul. Paul E. Dangerously. Oh, man. Listen, it's going to be so much fun. And this is a game that, if we went back to, like, the PS2 era like we did earlier, would be a game that we could just sit there and look at ourselves and be like, yep, I'm never going to need to play another wrestling game again. And this game, for all intents and purposes, might be it, because I don't know if they'll ever be able to top, at minimum, the roster that this is going to carry. I don't know if they're going to have any other game modes they could even really consider adding, unless you add, like, we talked about the Buried Alive match, unless we talk about other matches like the Triple Cage, freaking Ready to Rumble, or the Inferno match, or stuff like that. I just don't know what else they could possibly add to this, whether it be character-wise, or match type, or anything.
The interesting part about what you just said is the evolution of video games and how our thought process was 20 years ago when we were in college. Because we have kind of seen it all as far. We were on the ground floor of wrestling video games, like from Wrestlemania on the NES, when I'm sure there were people out there that were just like, you can't get any better than this. Then they played like Super Wrestlemania, the Royal Rumble, or Raw for the SNES. Can't get any better than this. And then they move on to the PS1, the N64. Same thing. And then PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5. So multiple generations, multiple consoles, multiple companies, multiple formats. And the thought process of what we would have been dealing with if this game came out 20 years ago, with the amount of roster, the amount of content that we're going to be in it, we would have just been like, because we were fine with Here Comes the Pain, Shut Your Mouth, and a lot of the other, SmackDown versus Raw 2006, 2007. We were fine with that. We were okay with that. We didn't have any qualms or problems with that.
We also didn't know better.
We didn't. No. I mean, 20 years ago, playing Halo in LAN parties, right, where you got to have fucking 15 TVs all connected by like one fucking wire in the house, right? Oh, don't trip over the LAN. Fuck! You don't have to worry about that now. You know, you can, with frames per second now being on 3 gig internet or 5G, 6G, 7 fucking Gs. And you can play now with your buddy who lives 200-300 miles away, or 3,000 miles away across the country. Who knows? And
I mean, dude, you could probably play people in freaking Japan at this point. Like,
no shit.
Forget about just in this country. Like, I know
you can
people
spot them if they're using their creative version.
Yeah, it's true. It's The reason I say we didn't know any better, aside from the internal joke that you and I have about that, is who knew like 20 something years ago how far video games and graphical fidelity and all of that would really come. Like, yeah, we had like high def then, but it's not the same high def that we know today.
No.
And those video games, I don't know how many of these videos or videos like it you've seen where they have current talent trying to look at wrestlers from video games back in the day and trying to guess who it is.
Yeah.
And I remember like one was AJ. There was, I think, Imperium, all three members, and a couple other people just trying to guess who they were. And it was like, one was like Jericho, and it was when he had the black chin strap beard.
Oh, God.
Another one was Vince, and it did not look like freaking Vince McMahon at all. Or, I'm sorry, Redacted.
Redacted.
Like, Steve Austin was pretty easy to tell. Undertaker, corporate ministry era, like the 98 one that we were talking about earlier, kind of looked like him. You could kind of tell it was him. Triple H, they had no idea, I don't believe. And just, that's kind of the games that we played at that time. Like,
I remember The Rock on PS1. He had like no body definition. He looked fat. Like the first two, I think it was SmackDown 1 and 2.
Yeah. Yep.
Like he just looked. It was, mind you, those games, as far as content were concerned, as far as the roster was concerned, and as far as playability, it was fun as shit when we first got it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I remember playing that first SmackDown game, and just I threw a guy into the ambulance, and then all of a sudden a stretcher pops out and being like, "Holy shit!" Like just little stuff like that.
I remember the loading times when you would take a fight backstage from the ring. You would take a fight
Why
from
are
the
you
ring
bringing this up?
because we're already talking about it anyways. And just the loading times alone to get to some of this stuff, especially those first couple games on PlayStation. I don't even remember which one it was. Maybe it was like Monday Night Raw. I think that was the name of it or something
No, it
to
was
that
SmackDown.
effect.
It was SmackDown 1 and 2, I believe.
No, I don't think it was SmackDown. I think
Warzone? It was Warzone.
It was Warzone. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. That one was awful.
That was bad.
But, that was stuff we played. And just, it was original PlayStation. And, like, it's funny because, we're talking about regular PlayStation. A lot of people think of Final Fantasy VII and the remake that's coming out now and stuff. And if you go back and see what we have now versus then, it's so different. Both in that game and wrestling games and all these other games, it's just completely different. But, like I said, like, if we knew then what we know now, like, I probably would have kept buying them. I don't know. I still think back to those days, and it's just like, I remember Brock Lesnar, and Here Comes the Pain, and it barely looks like him. And now, I'll see him in a showcase mode, I guess.
Yeah. Luckily, I still have my 2K23 save, so if I have to, I can go back and be like, "Oh, 2014 Brock, I can use him." Yeah, it's yeah, I'm very excited. Like I feel like it's a kid on Christmas, like when it's counting down the days, because yeah, it's something to definitely to look forward to. And then too, we're all in this mode of we're in this mode of wrestling anyways for the next month, because yeah, this is the fucking holiday season for wrestling fans. It's like you got the Royal Rumble, which is almost like Thanksgiving, and then it's just an elongated period between the Royal Rumble and Thanksgiving, which is Thanksgiving, and then WrestleMania. It's like, oh, just Christmas season is just 3 months. It's fine.
Yeah, it really is, though.
It's and then with the game coming out, it adds another wrinkle, because this used to come out in the fall. And then after 2K20, which I'm sure Mac has heard about it. I think everybody has heard about it. One of the most infamous game releases, not only in wrestling history, but in gaming history, where it was a walking fucking meme. Like, I pre-ordered that shit. Bought it. Lock, stock, and barrel. And the reason why I got it was because I was like, well, Hulk Hogan's back. So I can do the NWO finally. And then I fucking played it and saw what I was dealing with, and I'm just like, oh, this is broken. This is broken beyond repair. And but I was like, oh fuck, I already sold my copy of 2K19. So I gotta go back and buy another copy of 2K19.
Yeah.
But then 2K22 came out, and that was it was good, but it was a good kind of foundation for what they've kind of built on now. This is the third year since kind of the new engine and the new build. And I feel like this year that they have gone above and beyond. And this is going to be one where this is going to be tough to let go. Like next year, it's like, all right, how are you going to do this? How are you going to fucking wow me this year?
But maybe this is like, I don't mean to cut you off, but maybe this is a year that they say, why don't we just take it a year off? Because I don't know how they will top it,
You can't, unless you do like an Undertaker showcase.
Yeah, true.
Or like a, I don't know, you get like every ECW guy possible. Like you do an entire, like, that's the only way I could consider this happening, where it's an Undertaker or like a Hulk Hogan showcase. That's it. Where Hogan you go from like WrestleMania 1 and his early career, get to see if you can get Nick Bockwinkel in there. Like there's a whole bunch of things that they could do. Use the AWA license. Come on, you own it. Fuck it.
I mean, listen, they could do like WCW, ECW kind of thing too.
They could do like an entire NWO model where
That's
it's like where that would be cool as shit. Like that would be so much fucking fun.
Book it.
Yeah. And then being able to have in the story, like have built into universe mode where you can do like an invasion angle. Like that I think would be so much fun.
Yeah, I agree.
And universe mode is, again, their sandbox. That is the mode I usually play quite a bit. That is probably something we're going to explore here on the Diamond Podcasting Productions Network, as far as live streaming my universe modes, live streaming maybe my GM matches that me and Mac do, where I try to fuck them over on the shows because, all fair is love and war.
I'm just sitting over here shaking my head. Can't see it because I got the avatar, but I'm just shaking my head right now. Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I think as we kind of go towards that WrestleMania season, it's probably the best that we do it, because it'll kind of take some of the edge off a little bit.
Really will. So that way, we're not doing blow entering that weekend like, oh my God.
Yep, I agree. Because I was like, man, they even said it like last couple of weeks. I was like, what are we going to do like leading up to WrestleMania? And I was like, there's the game, there's the road to WrestleMania. I feel like that's all we're going to do until after April. And then we'll be on that, like, hiatus, kind of, not hiatus, but like, hangover really from like WrestleMania and talking about WrestleMania, and kind of like, oh, it's finally over. What are we gonna do now?
That Mania is gonna be over. We're gonna be like, what the fuck do we do now?
No, I think that I think we have some ideas that we could do pretty well.
Without question. That's the thing about the nature about wrestling, is the fact that there's no off season. Like, it's a constant.
Not only that, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I think that, you have a couple of things in the background and in that room that I know we could definitely talk about that we're waiting. Like, let's be real. We're waiting for the wrestling memorabilia show. You know, because right now it's tough with the game and WrestleMania coming. We're waiting on like other topics that we could discuss because so much of the time when we talk about wrestling in this season, like you said, is just so absorbed by WrestleMania. Just so absorbed. And the fact that the game's coming out, like you said, the same time period. It's like, oh my god, I need rest at some point. So it's definitely an
Our
interesting
significant
time.
others aren't going to see much of us when we get this game. They're going to be like, "Where are you?" Never mind.
You know what? I actually set up a second like workspace in the living room. I got 2 monitors there. I got my laptop. I could just put in that room and I'll hook it up to my laptop. No big deal. No big deal. And I got a wireless game pad for the PC if I want to play it with that, or I could do keyboard and mouse, which I've never really tried in a game like that before, and I don't think I want to try right now, but still, it's an option. So yeah, no, I'm prepared in multiple different ways. But
honey, what are you doing? I'm booking SmackDown. Shut up.
I'm making the boys drink again. My faction is going out for beers. I'm drinking a beer. Why?
I'm in a faction with the Sandman and Steve Austin. Okay, leave me alone.
I think if I said that, she'd be like, "Who the fuck is that?" Like, who? What? Playing a game. Oh, okay. I think that's how that conversation would more accurately go. I'm playing a game. Oh, okay. But yeah, I think. Let me see. Is it next week? Is it? I think it's like coming up real fast, man. It's hard to keep track.
Tuesday.
Yeah. So, well, the 5th is Monday. So I thought.
No, it's the 4th is Monday. The 5th is Tuesday.
Oh yeah. I'm looking at February. My bad.
That's fine.
Yep. So Tuesday the 5th, if you got early access, otherwise you're waiting till the 8th to play. I listen. Still, it's next week, regardless of the thing that you're getting. You know, in terms of which edition, basically. Like I said, Dan and I are probably, at least in some way, shape, or form, getting the 40 years of WrestleMania package because it's going to have everything to it. It's the more expensive of the packages.
I don't got time to grind shit out. All right, people.
Like
some of you, I'm sure, could be like, "Well, I unlock everything naturally." Well, fuck you. I don't care.
The thing is, like, I want the DLCs.
Yeah.
You know, I want the DLCs because I do want to play Punk at some point. I want, you know, even if they were lower rankings, I want the 2017 Bianca and Rhea. I want all those other characters too that we talked about earlier.
I want Billy Graham and Dusty too. So it's like,
I definitely want Dusty. Dusty's in 91. Like hell yeah.
Yeah, Dusty and Cody would be a good tag team, and then you know, Macho King, that skin, that's a good one that I want.
The Macho King skin is awesome.
Yeah, like it's just there's so many things. It's just that this thing is bringing like the hardcore like wrestling nerd in me, video game nerd is just like
Yep, absolutely the same. Any final thoughts from you though?
No. I think I've exhausted every possible feeling I could have. I think next Thursday will be an interesting show because half of us will probably be half asleep, being like, "So, is there anything to talk about?" I don't know.
I think it's gonna be a mix of that, and then we're gonna hit like our second wind and be like, "Let's go play. Let's go play right now."
Yeah.
I'll see about getting it to set up on the stream and see if we can kind of get that to work so we can show some gameplay and stuff like that. But other than that, yeah, we'll probably talk about it next week. At least, even if we can't get gameplay, we'll share some initial thoughts from the game. We'll continue to talk about the road to WrestleMania from what happens on SmackDown, which, since we're recording on a Thursday, is tomorrow. Or tonight if you're posting this, Dan, sometime tomorrow, whatever. You're so timely. Remember you threw that out the last time. I had to get you back with that one. So yeah, we could talk about whatever happens on SmackDown. whatever happens on Raw going into the show next week when we record again on Thursday. And then, like I said, we'll also talk about the game. We'll see about trying to do some live gameplay. If that doesn't work, we'll, like I said, at least share some initial thoughts about what we thought so far. Other than that, do you want to go ahead and give your plugs out again?
Yes, I might as well. I actually had a good discussion with some people with Pro Wrestling World. We have some good things coming up on the horizon. Actually, a guest I just booked that I'm really excited for, but I don't want to talk about it in case it falls through. So I'm not going to mention names until I can actually get a confirmation on that it's going to happen. But again, for all of you out there, look out for Pro Wrestling World Talks on Spotify and Apple. We're on there. We have great content coming out. We have a 40th anniversary of Hulkamania podcast coming down the pike. We just have to finish it with that includes Stephanie, my significant other, where she wanted to kind of get a basic wrestling 101 knowledge. And I said, well, 40 years of Hulkamania, so you might as well get the full. So she's not only getting to watch like Iron Sheik and Hulk Hogan, but I have been like, well, we have to get the milestones in a championship reign. So she's already watched WrestleMania 1, the War to Settle the Score, WrestleMania 2. We have to finish, and we still have to finish recording on that. I think we're going to try to get through WrestleMania 3 and then the cage match between Hogan and Orndorff from 87 on Saturday Night's Main Event. So, and then we're going to pick up our Dark Side of the Ring series where me, John Young, and Stephanie react to episodes of Dark Side of the Ring in chronological order. So we're still going to finish up season 1, and then we're going to do season 2, and then 5's coming out next week. Tuesday's huge because 2K's coming out, and then on 10 o'clock on Vice, the new season of Dark Side of the Ring starts, where they talk about John Tenta and Earthquake.
Yep.
Which surprisingly, actually, I just got my Earthquake figure in a few weeks ago. Natural Disaster 2-pack.
Oh, boy.
My second Earthquake and my second Typhoon, because I have the Shockmaster already. So,
and this is why we're waiting, but still gonna have at some point a wrestling memorabilia show.
Yes. That'll be a very long episode.
Yeah, I think that'll be the entire episode.
I might do I might actually produce like a toy room kind of like, I don't know. I might do like something to kind of give like a tour. I haven't decided yet. But in episode 2 of just talking about everything, like, what is some of your highlights? You know, I definitely can. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, I'm down with that too. Yeah, I think if we did the highlights of, you know, you could do most expensive, you could do most treasured, like whatever the case may be, because I know you got a lot of stuff. But I feel like a lot of people would find that interesting as well because of all the stuff you actually have. I forgot the terminology you used one time. You said, I think you have more in your collection than some countries do. I mean, I know I've made the 40-year-old virgin comparison, but you're not that, obviously. No. But the amount of stuff, but the amount of stuff potentially could definitely equate to that level of stuff, maybe. I will say, yes, it is very extensive. 40-year-old virgin-esque. I see. I was trying to save you with extensive. But no. It's fine. I'm just trying to, because I'm just trying to be honest here and trying to be transparent that, there are, I look around at my collection sometime and I'm just like, you're literally turning into fucking 40-year-old virgin with this shit. But I'm not a virgin, so. No, I know. That's fine. That's why I was trying to save you, my dude. All right. We should. After Mania, we have to do that show. Whether you record the video or you do a top 5 or you walk us through
whatever the case may be, I think it's a great idea. That's, like I said, if it wasn't for WrestleMania season, I would just be like, let's do that next week. Or the game for that matter, but the game is next week too. So, but you want to finish out your plugs if you have any other ones?
No, I think we should just all rest in peace.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, rest sounds good right now. Rest does sound good right now. All right,
Yes.
my name is Mac. For Diamond Podcasting Productions and The Shoot Show, you could email us, theshootShow1@gmail.com. You could email Diamond Podcasting Productions at gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter X and Facebook. And again, I can't stress it enough. One thing I noticed lately with the analytics is that we have about little less than half the people that watch the show subscribed. If you want to keep watching us and keep letting us do our thing and entertain you, please like and subscribe, and also share this video so we can continue to do the things that you enjoy watching and listening to. Like, favorite, subscribe, share, do it all. It doesn't matter. But again, my name is Mac. I'm here with Dan. This has been another show of The Shoot, and we hope you have a great rest of your day, night, evening, whatever. Bye!
Good night, everybody.